I am Jeff Foxworthy, and welcome to Gamekeeper Podcast. If you want to learn more about farming for wildlife and habitat management, then, buddy, you are in the right place. Join the Gamekeeper crew direct from Mossy Oak Land Enhancement Studio as they discuss the latest wildlife and habitat management practices, news, and, of course, hunting. There's no telling what you'll learn, but I'm going to tell you, I bet it's interesting. Enjoy.
We are live. 3, 2, 1.
How about that?
There
That's a new voice there.
It is a new voice. Excited to have him here.
We are today's gonna be really interesting. Let me go ahead and get him introduced. We've got Mr. Brian Johnson from northern Wisconsin. And his wife, Miss Doris, is over here.
And I've got to say, I have never seen somebody bring such cool props.
The best props ever
I've ever seen, yeah. I mean, we love taxidermy around here. Apparently now we even got more of it.
So Brian, we'll get him to explain all this, but if he gets into a discussion with you about arrow placement, he's got everything to back up what he's
100%.
He filled the back of a truck up with all these props.
Yeah. Hey, this is a great service. It really is. I mean, for recovery, for everything. So I know I'm jumping ahead of myself, but what are we talking about today, Bobby?
We're going to be talking about, I think, arrow placement, bullet placement, just
wildlife anatomy.
He is known on Instagram, and guys, this is worth a follow. It's the anatomy Hunter.
All right.
And we saw it and we were like, we got to get him.
Yeah, got to get him here. And he drove all the way down here
from Wisconsin.
Well, it's an important subject.
It is very important.
He's got all these cool props and everything that, of course, we went to lunch like we always do, and he was telling us he's been working on this stuff for years.
Brian, thank you for being here.
Well, I am just thrilled and honored to be here.
Glad to have you.
Well, how in the world did you get started down this road of trying to, it's like your mission in life to educate people?
I mean, is there a one moment? Did you make a bad shot? Or this just...
Yes, there was a moment. Basically, because I talk too much and go on too long, but to make a long story short, I started out in 1975 to become a taxidermist. And back in those days, when you bought a mannequin to mount like these deer heads you see here, they didn't have them like they do now. They're made out of paper. They literally made each one out in a plaster mold by paper. Well so they were very poor quality. So then when Mackenzie actually started sculpturing fiberglass molds and foam, I got right in on that and I started sculpturing animals.
Okay, so that's a big brand. We've definitely heard of them.
Yes, in my taxidermy supply company, Revolution Taxidermy Supply, I ended up selling to Mackenzie, so you can go to Mackenzie catalog and you can see my products and still buy them there now. But so that started me sculpturing. Well, if you're going to sculpture something, you've got to study the anatomy. So this just goes back right out of high school. And then I ended up starting a chainsaw carving school. So I've done all different forms of medium carving out of foam, out of clay, with a chainsaw wood, all these things. But it's still, we're always studying. And all that I've learned, the reality is I know very, very, very little. But that's what got me going. Then long story short, I helped start Reinhardt Archery Targets. It was my idea to start that with John Reinhardt. He did it, he owned it. I was just the sculptor and the inventor behind the scenes. I invented a patented system where I can tell you where to shoot a deer at the perfect spot, no matter how high you're in a tree, no matter how it's angled. And it's patented. So I had it. Reinhardt wasn't interested in it because it wasn't a way for him to make money. It's kind of complicated as an archery target. It meant everything to me. Long story short, I started my own archery targets while I'm working for them, not wanting to compete against them, but they didn't want it. And fast forward, I started going places. They ended up buying me out, but they didn't do anything with the patent. So now the one-time experience. So now I got this patent. It's my lifelong dream to push this. It's called the Perfect Kill Shot. I'm out in Montana. There's an elk coming in. We make these elk decoy hats. And long story short, I saw this bull. I mewed. He came in right out in the open prairie. And I got one tree, we jump behind it. My wife pulls up this hat, which if you got it, Doris, I could hold it and I could show him. But it's a hat that we have on a stick. So you wiggle the bush, you yank it sideways, you make eye-to-eye contact with the elk. He came right in. We're on our knees behind this bush. He's like 10 yards right there. Long story short, I pull the bow back. He sees me. You know, an animal would jump. They look back. I shot, beautiful shot, arrow come out of him. I've got it on video. We could even put this on if you'd want to see it. Blood coming down the side. I'm jumping up and down. I got a bulldog, because that's a big deal for me.
Huge deal for everybody.
Big time wrangler. I was on cloud nine. I went back to camp to get the thing to drag him out 2.5 hours. And I go, he was right out in the open where he went. I got him. He wasn't there. There's my arrow. Got bubbles in the bubbles. on it. We look at the video, blood coming right down the side. Well, he's dead right there. So we spent 3 days. And it was, and again, like I say, I'm a Christian. I believe this was of God that caused me to do this. And here's what happened. I was taken back. How could I make this double lung shot and this animal not be in the prairie out here in front of me? So long story short, I went to some forestry people I knew there, and I said, I'll pay you $500 if you can help me find him. I'll pay you $1,000. I'll pay you. I got him up to $2,000. I mean, I was literally crying tears in their office. But I believe it was God because I had to know, did he live? Is this possible? Can a double? That's one of my questions. Can a double lung animal live? And the answer is yes. And I have proof of it. But anyway, they found him. They found him when I got back home in Wisconsin. And it takes 2 years later, I went back there. And I went to where the bones were, where he was at. I got his skull sent back to me at Christmas. It was all rotten, so I had that up there. I had that, but I didn't bring him out. I didn't get to eat him, which is a big deal, packing out, eating the meat. You know, that means something to us as hunters, right? But from that point on, everything, this is the decoy hat. See, isn't this cool?
That
you in the bush,
looks like
you
a
take it, and you
cow
turn it there like this.
Yeah.
No. Then you turn it sideways, then you pull it away. Then they say, oh, where'd she go over there? You can interact. But anyway, long story short, steps took place. I went to Reinhardt. I believe, my wife and I believe that God was calling us to go into this anatomy as a result of this deer. So I went up to Reinhardt, the owner. His name's James McGoverns. He's the son-in-law of John Reinhardt, who owned it, and he owns it now. And I went to ask him, I want to take 2 years off to pursue this. And this was during COVID. And as I opened my mouth to take the 2 years off, he said, Brian, before you stop, I'm going to tell you something. COVID's hit, and you know the financial things that it caused with everybody there. He says, I want you to take 2 years off. You go to Hawaii if you want to, do whatever you want. And I'm not going to pay you as much, but you don't got to work for me for 2 years because I have to work 1,000 hours a year making archery targets. So I spent the last 2 years until January. It was when my time was off, but now I'm back in the working for him again and stuff. But anyway, he interrupted me, gave me that permission. Things have opened up, and I'm on a journey not to make money. It's cost me a ton of money doing this, but I'm fortunate. I make enough to do it, and this is something. It's not just my passion. It's something, if you really believe it's something that God has called you to do, well, then it's not just me. But I've been studying anatomy since 1975. So they're like that deer is put together with different deer, different pieces. I mean, we go back, we have lived with blood, with plaster, with guts, with maggots, with fiberglass, casting. Like I'm going to be going to Canada here in 2 weeks, and we're going to go up there, and I'm going to take a bear. If we get the bears that we're supposed to have, I'm going to hang one upside down, take the stomach and intestines out, where the liver is sitting in the diaphragm, right where it is. I'm going to make a bondo mold on the inside. I've already done this on a hog. The bondo on the inside of the animal with the liver. Then I take the liver out, I flip it over, fit it back in the mold, and mold it. So then I'm going to have a replica of the liver of that bear in that position. The only thing is all the research that I do is as perfect as I can be, which means it's not perfect because I'm not. And number two is I'm studying a dead animal. And so that's where when people say, you're right on, right? No, I'm not. I'm doing the absolute best before God I can do, but I maybe 90%, I don't know. But that's how come the project I'm on is called the Perfect Kill Shot Documentation Project. I'm wanting people, and that's why I'm coming down here in person. I'm wanting to solicit people to send me videos of the deer that they shoot where it shows the kill shot. And then after they get the deer, that you can see, here's where the arrow went in, put a stick in it. Here's where it went in. Here's where it came out. You skin it, you see where it went in, came out. Then it's opened up, you see the organs. So if we can have 1,000 videos where if say you're going in and you gut shoot a deer, you shot one here, whatever it is, you can go and watch videos, and it is 100% documented what they hit, not what we think. And as much as I study this, if you sent me a film of a deer you sent me, like when people do this to me, I'm wrong the majority of the time. That's how come I tell people videos and photographs lie. And they go, what do you mean they don't lie? A picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, I'll tell you what, I've got some videos today I'm going to show you guys, and we're going to get to see what you think. Because what I'm going to show you is it's going to be a video of a shot. So you're going to see live motion, just like you shoot the deer runs away. Oh, I hit him good. I didn't hit him back. Then we're going to play, so I'm going to hear what you have to say. Then we're going to play it in slow motion, so you can kind of change your answer. But then when we're done, we're going to show you what they hit. And you just might be surprised because I've been at the a.k.a. and I played these videos there, and out of just 3 animals, I think it was, out of all, I know you're going to the a.k.a., you're talking the best archer, right? 3 deer, 3 animals, I think it was, maybe it was 3 or 4. One guy got them right. One. So, and that's what this is all about. And that's what I'm humble enough to say I'm wrong most of the time. But that's why I want to document. My deal is everything I do, I want to have evidence. I want to have proof. I don't want to have my opinion. Like we get into broadheads, well, that's an opinion. We get into what, where, and why. Everything I'm doing is trying to be science. And I challenge people to find me wrong. Because I'm not trying to sell you a pair of tennis shoes.
Right. You're just trying to improve the model.
I'm trying to find out.
Right.
And if you and I get in an argument in something, and then that argument ends up leading you getting some proof, and you prove me wrong, instead of me being like little kids like this, it's going to be, you know what? I just learned something, and I'm representing the truth. Because, again, I don't want to keep preaching, but the Bible says, this is paraphrased, it's the glory of God to conceal a matter. It's the wisdom of kings to search it out. And all I'm doing is searching out, I call it the physiology of death, the anatomy from a redneck hunter type guy, not a medical deal, but what it is that we need to know as hunters to make perfect, ethical, quick kill shots. And to have, the Bible says, get understanding wise. So
How are we going to get him to talk throughout this whole thing?
I told you ahead of time,
Look,
Bobby. I warned you.
I like it, and I hear you loud and clear, but I don't know anybody else that studied it as much as this. I mean, Joe Bumgarner is going to be super excited to see this kind of stuff. Yes. And I'll tell you, Bobby, I think you and I had the same conversation. We were looking at one of these particular models out there before, and it was just standing out there. And I have already learned something. And I don't know how many whitetails I have harvested myself, but I've already learned something before you even started talking, just by looking at all the work you've done.
Yeah, the mounted deer that you flip over to the other side and saw where
where his front shoulders and everything, where it's just different than I thought it would be. And I have skinned hundreds.
And the heart's a little higher than I thought it was. And the shoulder blade's a little higher than I thought it was.
And the pocket, or the devil's triangle, as you call it, is
come on now, we're getting it.
Yeah,
do you think
I paid a little bit of attention now.
Through all this, do you think people are misguided as to where they're trying to aim on? And let's just talk about whitetail deer specifically here.
Yeah.
Do you think they're a little misguided about it? And you're primarily doing archery research, right?
Yeah, I'm an archery type guy.
Yeah.
I know I need to get into guns, but I'm honest who I am and who I'm not. I don't understand shock and bullets, but the shot placement on the augers is the same. It's just the results of how they die and things are different.
Well, understanding where the anatomy actually is on the animals, and then you can make up your own mind on the rest. But so do you think people are a little misguided in where they're currently trying to place an arrow?
I think overall, when it all comes to where I would say the perfect broadside shot is, that I'm not coming up any different than has been there for decades for the most part. But the reality is they're shooting compound angles. You're up in a tree, the deer's angled away, it's angled here, where things are at. There's a lot of difference. I'll just ask you a question. We start out with this. If you were to shoot a deer to try to hit it with a lung and the liver, which side of the body would you shoot it on? And I'll bet you've never even heard that question asked before, let alone know the answer. It's very pertinent. Because this is where what I'm getting into, not just the detail of where it is. You get a quartering shot, do I take it? Like that deer that's mounted there, I had that situation.
It'd be an odd angle to
I never even think about trying to shoot the liver. I don't.
Well, but see, here's where it comes in. First off, frontal shots. I have to give a disclaimer. Frontal shots, everybody's taking them nowadays. Even people on the TV shows that are ethical, they're taking them where I think they should.
You're talking about quartering towards you?
Quartering towards. Anything that's not broad. The National Bowhunter Education out of South Dakota, Marilyn Benza runs it. Their ethics are broadside or angling or quartering away. Right. No frontals. But the reality is people are taking quartering shots. So the first thing I have to do is give a disclaimer. You should not take frontal shots.
Right.
But if you do, I need to inform you what to do and what not to do. And that's where this liver shot comes in. And I don't want to be a hypocrite, but I can't just say, no, I'm not going to talk about it because you're not supposed to do it. I can't. I need to get, my goal is to have 150,000 deer a year killed that would have been wounded except not for my teaching.
Yeah.
And that's only
so
10%.
even if you don't recommend something, if somebody is going to do it, you want to tell them how to do it.
I want that deer dead and not wounded. So that's where the liver comes into this. There's an answer to this.
And early on, I mean, I guess this with the advancement of archery equipment, because Bobby, you come back from the bow hunting basics days. I mean, you didn't have options because we were shooting slow bows, round wheels, recurved limbs, even hand sharpened broadheads, and you had shot selection was everything. And so we lived and died by the quartering away shot.
What interests me the most about this, I think most everybody I'd like to think most everybody knows where they should hit or where they want to try to hit that deer.
I would argue that, but
so we'll learn. But so from my perspective, I think I know where I need to hit him. But when he's at 28 yards and he's walking and all this is going on, I'm all excited. The value to me is, okay, I see where I think the arrow hit, and it really wasn't where I wanted it. But to be able to analyze and go, okay, that may be a little far back, but it's far enough forward, I probably got liver here. So just to being able to analyze and know where you probably hit him, so you know whether to call the dogs or.
And I think we personally look for the highest percentage shot. I mean, that's what you're looking for. I'm not trying to.
It's amen.
Yeah,
That's
I mean,
amen.
it's not like, oh, I'm gonna shoot him in the liver this way, or I'm gonna shoot him in the heart from this way. It's like whatever presentation gives you the most highest percentage shots of success.
That's right.
And that could be, with that deer moving. It could be with wind. It could be with a lot of different factors.
Now let's go back to that liver now, because I asked the question. We haven't answered that. And then Bobby brought up his angle the way they hit him in the liver, right? So let's go back and get more specific. Which side, Bobby? Oh, I hit him back over there, so I hit back farther, but I probably got the liver. On the right side or the left side? Now remember, I got permission to challenge you guys, right?
Yeah, I want to say, doesn't the liver kind of lean on one side?
Yeah, it does.
Which side? How much on one side?
I'm trying to look,
partially?
remember what that model looked at. I'm like, I'm going to say on the...
I think it kind of leans to the left. That's my guess.
Yeah, no
I'm going to say to the right.
I have no idea. I thought it said it right.
See, you guys know how to gamble. You got both sides.
So we're a team. Right? We're undefeated in trivia.
Picture this. The liver is basically flat on one side, and then it's got these two big lobes. The flat part is attached to the diaphragm, just like it's sewed on. Mm-hmm. So as the diaphragm moves in and out, the liver's going with it, okay, which gets into a whole other subject. That, where it's attached, is in the middle, and the liver sits totally on the right-hand side.
Hey.
So then when you have a frontal shot, the question that you have to have when you get into this, which is why I brought my chart, I got angles, we're going to deal with all angles. What is a quarter definition? What's a quartering shot? You have that shoulder ball. It's called the glenohumeral joint. And I brought a deer to show it. You've got mounts here. It's a big deal, because this is the one, even with your modern boat, you're not going to want to hit this. So the decision that has to be made, do I shoot on the inside of it or do I shoot on the outside? If it's the right side of the deer and you can shoot on the outside, you're going to have a lung and a liver in a gut shot, versus the other side, you're going to have a lung shot, maybe a pancreas, which isn't that much, and a gut shot. So
on the left side.
Mm-hmm, correct, on the left side, correct. So that's where, by my teaching and seeing, and again, the Bible says get understanding of where it is at, and then knowing, if you're one of these guys that can place the arrow where you want to, knowing because now again, when you hit the liver has got more blood concentrated than any other organ in the body, but it doesn't die as quick as a lung shot, which doesn't have much blood, which gets into a whole other physiology thing we'll get into. But if you know the blood vessels are coming and going in the liver 100%, where it hits the diaphragm in the middle. So now you're knowing, if you know where that liver, the middle would be, that's where you're wanting to get it. Because somebody say, oh, I hit him in the liver. Well, if you just hit the edge of the liver, you're just hitting, it comes to a point that's very thin. So you're only going to get the blood loss you have there. Where if you hit that's what comes somebody hits in the liver. You see a lot of single lung and liver shots die in 15 minutes, an hour and a half, and then you'll find somebody else, they're alive 20 hours the next morning. Mm-hmm. So why is that? Well, we're talking blood loss. And we're talking where and what you hit, whether you just hit the quote-unquote meat of the liver or you hit the major blood vessels in the liver.
Can you go back to your elk? I never imagined that an animal
double lung, and I've got a very famous hunter in the United States. I don't want to give up his name now because I don't have his permission, who double-lunged a white-tailed deer this last winter. His wife did. They've got it afterwards on video alive. And they shot it and got it. And he's one of the most famous professional archers in the United States.
Well, we've got stories around here of, deer that have shot in double lungs and then harvested a couple years later in their arrow shafts still through both of their lungs.
I've got two other guys that I've interviewed. One, I have a podcast. You could go on the Anatomy Hunter to see. His name's Wally Miner, with a 2-inch single blade broadhead, did a sun shot with his grandpa in the blind. The whole story, it was like 8-9 hours later. Double lung, perfect, blood all over the place what it did there. And then my elk. Okay, now going back to that situation, how did this happen? Now, number one, all I'm going to give you is hypothesis and educated guess. But if you understand how a deer dies. I call it the physiology of death when they're shot in the lungs. Now this is going to get, I don't want to go down the path too far, so you stop me if it goes. But if I ask you, what is the major cause of death, the causation of death when they're shot in the lungs, what would you say that would be?
I can't
why?
breathe.
Oxygen runs out.
Why? How?
The lungs
What's that gonna do?
collapse.
Yeah, the lungs collapse.
How do they collapse?
They lose their
Ability to hold
pressure.
pressure
How's that happen?
because there's a hole in them.
Okay.
Does that bust through the diaphragm?
Not necessarily.
It's very important because to understand how these ones that are double lung that do live, and that's why I want these I want to document these things. I want proof. I want to show it. I want to have it to the world to document. To answer the question is this. They die when they're shot through the lungs for two basic reasons. And again, a doctor is going to go into maybe a dozen, but there's two basic reasons, and it is oxygen, and it is lung collapse. But it's how that works is what nobody understands. It's just the opposite. People think of the lungs, and I'll bet you do, as two balloons. You shoot them, you pop them, they collapse, they can't breathe, and they die. It's just the opposite of that. You can shoot the hole right through the lungs still stay puffed up there. I can inflate lungs with an arrow, go through, and they still. What happens is the lungs are held inside the thorax cavity, which is nothing but the rib cage on the front of the diaphragm. That's all that means. That's a diaphragm, the thorax cavity. The thorax cavity is divided in the middle, up and down, by a membrane called what's it called, Doris? I forgot it already. The mediastinum, I'm sorry. It goes from the backbone to the sternum. So we've got two chambers. They're called pleural chambers. Both lungs are in there. Within those space, and this is the miraculousness of God, there's a vacuum on the outside of the lungs, in between the ribs, called the pleural space, and that's a vacuum, and that keeps the lungs pulled to the outside. So when you shoot them, and this gets into broadheads, if air gets in that space, that air can collapse the lungs. So even if you don't hit them in a major spot with blood loss, because blood loss is part of it, of course, but what can happen is if the lungs collapse, they push the heart out of its place. Now all these blood vessels that are like this are compressed, and the blood cannot come back to the system. In other words, the plumbing is cut off. And if that happens to a human, their neck blood, their veins will puff out because the pressure is pushing it back, but the pipes are blocked. And then again, that cuts the oxygen off you right to the brain. When you bleed, you cut oxygen off to the brain and then end up dying from that. And the question that I have, I'm trying to find out, and I've asked a lot of medical people, when they're double lunged and they die from a combination of blood loss and lung collapse, what percentage of it is blood loss and lung collapse? Well, how do you prove that? But they claim that it's the lung collapse is the greater causation of death than the blood loss. Now back to my elk. I picked my arrow up, had two blades on it, and I shoot an Exodus broadhead. I don't have any sponsors. I got nothing to hide. I love Exodus broadheads. I'm for them. I've talked to the vice president, but it busted off. So I probably went through him with two blades. He went out there. He was not excited. The blood came out right off the bat. He's out there at 100 yards where we left. We spent 3 days. We're on, we do a blood trail. Somebody's on pins and needles. They're trying to find the last blood. Someone's going up ahead 100 yards, right, trying to jump the trail. Long story short, he quit bleeding. So if you think about it, if they die from lung collapse and he wasn't excited, the quicker they run, the quicker they're going to die. Boom, 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 heart pumping, air being sucked in there and collapsing the lungs. So he went out and just kind of like bewildered. So if that hole fills back up, I only went through him with two blades. When I say the hole fills up, whether it's the membrane, the skin pulled over, whatever it was that the air did not get in there to collapse him, he's calm, so his heart is not pumping to pump the blood out. He's not running to be able to have that air when he runs, come in to collapse that lungs. He stayed calm, and it turns out they found him a quarter mile away. Now, did he die quarter mile 10 minutes later? Was it 2 hours? I don't know. But he was shot. I've got it on video. I can give it to you guys. You can play it so everybody can see him walking away. But he did live. So I had to come back. And so then my hypothesis is He did not go through with a big enough hole with 2 blades, which is why the size of a hole, and this gets into broadheads, the size of the hole does make a difference because of air coming in and collapsing the lungs. It really, truly does.
But the elk you harvested actually did die. You just
He
couldn't
did
find him.
That's right. But,
So
yeah.
Did y'all push him right after the shot or anything?
No, in fact, what I did is I shot. He went out to 100 yards. He went over a rise, and I got it all on video. His antlers are there. I went back to camp to get a sled. We take those plastic sleds, you wrap them up in to take them up on a mountain. Took me 2 hours to go back there to just get back. So I went away from him for 2 hours. I knew he was there. If you'd asked me, what's the chances? And I said, I'm a Christian, I don't lie. I'm going to say 99.99%.
Try not to.
And when he wasn't there, well, I'll tell you what, I wasn't too saved at that time. I was like, he wasn't there. You got to realize, for me, it was like, I wasn't devastated. I was like, am I taking drugs? He's right out in the open, so he's got it. So I knew he's dead here right in front of us, and we can't see. I knew he was, but he wasn't.
So how far did they recover him from where
Quarter
you
mile.
thought? A quarter mile.
Yep. So he went a quarter mile. Mm-hmm. Quarter mile.
Need a good dog.
500 yards.
Yes,
Or
I
drone.
sure wish. I sure wish. But you know what? If
That's
it
another
wouldn't-
podcast.
If that wouldn't have happened, I never would have started the Anatomy Hunter, because it was at that time that I was just totally taken back of how could this be, and that put that fire in me. Fire
If
in
you
my
told
belly.
me an animal could survive double lungs, I would have said no. I don't.
Depends. Yeah.
You're shocking me. You're surprising me.
I would have said the same thing, but just being in the skin and shed and the several deer that we've seen that have been shot through the lungs and then harvested a couple years later with proof that it's in there, it is hard to believe.
I can tell you this: one of the most famous guys in her industry. He's a living legend. His name is Jack Frost. Have you ever heard of him? He's one of the first guys to shoot the 29 Grand Slam. He's the medical expert kind of in the hunting industry. He's a surgeon in Anchorage, Alaska.
Do I know him, Lance?
And
Seems like we know Jack Frost.
yeah, he's from Alaska. He did the 29, the Grand Slam. He's one of them that did that and stuff. So I've known him for years that I've been into this. And I ran into him again at the ATA in January. And he said, Brian, it's really good what you're doing, but here's the reality. Now, this is from Jack Frost, and he knows I'm going to say this. I have permission. He says, but the truth is, Brian, and this is a medical doctor. He is the expert for the bow hunting board, the medical expert. There are just things we don't understand, and we never will. Mm-hmm. That's what he said. I'm trying to find it out.
You remember the story of the broadhead in the heart that was recovered?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Didn't they clean a deer at Toxie's that he claimed he swore it was the same deer, and they were cleaning a deer.
Look, we have the deer
and
here
there was a
that-
broadhead lodged in the heart that had been healed around.
I don't remember the heart, but I know multiple deer that we have cleaned over the years have had broadheads in them, have calcified over them. Definitely the air through both lungs. Broke off on both sides, which could have been the reason that it made it, because it could have plugged the hole and saved the vacuum,
There you go.
Who knows? But
Stands to reason.
I know one thing, it's an amazingly tough animal. They just are, and they have a will to survive. They really do.
Tough. A guy that taught me about hunting said they got a hell of a constitution.
Yeah, that's right.
Whatever that means. I really never know what that
They
means.
want to make it. That's what it
So why don't you play these videos for us and let's.
All right.
So we're going to determine where we think.
Well, let's let him talk.
My
I'm
bad, excuse
gonna have fun with you boys.
All right, we like it.
Yeah.
Especially Doug.
Hadn't heard that in a long time.
All right.
I told you I'm
Prove
coming
us
down here to have
wrong. We're
fun.
ready.
All right, here we go.
Well, first off,
Hold on. Let me put my
Let me
spectacles
get over here so I
on.
can see this.
do we
Okay,
really
we're
want
in
to shoot that
Texas.
there?
We're in Texas.
This is
a shot
Texas.
with a mega meat broadhead. And this
looks like
guy's a
an old-
veterinarian student.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Probably. What? That happened so fast.
Oh, wow.
That's
we're
all you're going to get for now.
We're
Okay,
going to have to slow
we're
that
gonna
thing
stop.
down.
No, here's what we're going to do. Can
I don't
stand
even
up
know
here?
what
Okay.
happened.
Here's what happened.
Where's
Where's the hunter even?
Wait, time out. Let me just say,
Yeah.
guys, this is a podcast, and you can't see what we're seeing, but you can go to YouTube and you can watch this.
Those guys are everywhere.
The YouTube cameras are everywhere. Richie,
are.
this will be, and will they be able to see this on YouTube?
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Okay.
Producer man.
Yeah. Okay, so I would,
All right.
guys, you can listen to this and we'll try to describe it. Remember, like we're on the radio.
I think I see what happened already.
I have no earthly idea. The arrow came from the wrong way for me.
I think he jumped the string and turned completely a 180, and then the arrow hit him on the other side.
Can we watch it again?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah,
even
now we're
watch
going to
it.
watch it in slow motion, but my goal is I want you to hear your impressions first of what you thought by seeing it just like you were. Okay, so first off, I want to ask you this. Kill shot, yes or no? Did that animal die or live?
Well, I ain't got to see it yet. I'm
right,
looking
watch
at
it.
y'all.
All right, watch it, Bob.
Let's watch
Okay.
it. Slow
You're
it
a little
down,
blind,
Richie.
Richie. You got to
Yeah, I
give him a
was
second
wrong
chance.
on my.
All right, have you started it? Okay.
Here we go.
Here we go.
I mean,
Live or die. Live or die.
Gosh, that looks like a die to me.
Yeah,
I-
it look- it
Round
look-
two dies.
I'm gonna
it looked
say-
like a heart shot, but then it kind of bounced up and
Okay.
may have gone out of that line.
I didn't even see it till the arrow's on the other side of it. So I
Yeah, was he
can't-
shooting? But was the guy in a underground blind?
yeah, what's-
That
It's
was
on the
a-
ground.
That was
In a blind.
That was an odd
Level.
angle.
Can we watch it again?
No, we're gonna watch it now in slow motion. But I gotta put you on the table though. You gotta put you on the.
I gotta watch
Kill
this
or
stuff.
not,
All right, we gotta watch it again. Don't slow motion it.
I got paused here, so
You want to go? See, they want to go slow motion.
This is slow
No,
motion.
no, don't-
This is slow motion. Okay.
Here we go.
Oh, I just now seeing the dadgum arrow. That's pretty fast bow. Wow.
See the blood coming out there? You can see a lot of red blood coming out.
I mean,
Dead or alive?
I would think that deer's dead.
I would too.
We get two deads.
I think
Come on,
we're
Dudley.
wrong, but I have to say dead just because of
Okay.
the shot placement.
Okay, here we go.
Is this a different deer? No,
We're
same.
gonna find out. I don't
Okay.
know. I'm gonna find out. I don't want to give it away, but it's a month later. Okay.
Well, I
right
see
there.
the hole in his shoulder.
Now he was shot there, perfect, and that deer lived. How could that happen?
Had to be the angle. Had to be the angle.
That bone may have messed up the blades.
Okay, keep guessing.
He went over the heart and in front of the lungs.
I think that's a good explanation.
Yeah, probably so.
That's why I like shooting them behind the shoulder.
Okay, can you go forward? We'll show you a little bit more.
That's
Give you
amazing.
The
that deer
evidence
made
that
it.
we have. There's where it exited.
God, it kicked up. So it did hit the bone.
Question is, what bone?
It hit the top of that ball
Devil's triangle, yeah.
and bounced up.
Now, and this is really important because when a deer drops when they're shot, am I okay standing up or should I sit down?
Yeah,
can
so
do
let's
whatever you
explain
want.
to people listening where this exit hole is almost in the top of that.
It looks like in the
deer.
spine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
the
so-
entrance was about center of the shoulder. Exit is coming out the top of the offside.
Yeah, and I would say forward to me. The center shot is forward, very forward.
Yeah, that's why I thought he had completely turned around because I saw the
I
arrow
thought it shot it
sticking
from the
way
other
up.
side. I
but-
thought it shot it from the other side. I never even saw the arrow.
So here's what happened. Because we've studied and studied these, but when they drop, they call it jump the string, but it's basically they're loading their legs to run away, right?
Right.
So they drop, but at the same time they drop, as a general rule, they'll roll, I call it cant, and go away from the shot. Generally, sometimes they'll go straight ahead. So when that arrow hit him, and this is what people can't figure out. They're up in a tree and they shoot the deer in the tree. And they come and they look at the exit hole, and the exit hole is level or higher than the entrance hole. That's impossible. Well, but when they drop and they turn, that makes it up higher there where the arrow comes out. So he dropped and canted so much that arrow actually hit the backbone. And when he ran away, it was kicking up. And that's the one that he hit it and he glanced up above the backbone. Now, the story on this is unbelievable later is, and I have that deer came back later. He shot it again in the stomach, and the arrow bounced off. It ricocheted, it didn't bounce, it ricocheted down, and he didn't hit any ribs. So try to figure that one out.
What kind of broadhead?
Mega meat.
Mega meat.
And I'm
So,
not trying to say
that
anything,
poor
I'm just
deer.
telling the truth.
I do know
That
the-
deer's like, I ain't never going back around there again.
So the spine dips down, when
Yes.
it gets to the shoulders, right?
That's exactly right.
And a lot of us don't think about
yeah,
that.
it's,
But
yeah, it's pretty big.
so wow, Yeah, I would have put money on it that he didn't
Well, when
make
I
it.
saw it, to me, it was guaranteed dead. Beautiful shot. Beautiful shot.
I thought it was a little far forward for me personally, but yeah, I would have said it was a dead deer. I did say it was a dead deer. So
Well, so did I.
there you have it. All right, let's go to the next one. This is fun.
Y'all,
I like this.
Listeners definitely need to go to YouTube and
Yeah,
get
look
the
at that one
best
for
out
sure.
of this.
Uh-oh.
for
Hey,
sure.
this is my style right here.
She's
Now-
got an impacted jaw.
Now,
Yeah.
let's take a little disclaimer here first, if I can. The guy who shot this is my editor from Texas. I have permission to say this. I'm not saying something bad, but this is a frontal shot that should never, ever be taken.
With a bow?
Yes.
Okay.
And he knows that, but he is, I don't know if there's such a thing as saying an expert, but what you're going to see here is what he planned to take place. And I would say it's not possible to take place, but this guy is a professional killer. He shoots about 900 pigs a year, 160 coyotes. What you're going to see is what he thought. And I have no idea how anybody can get so good at something to what he did, but.
That's it. Let it rip. Whoa, man. Well, I saw the arrow come out. I'm getting...
Okay, so that's fast.
Can we play that again there, Richie?
let's
Yeah,
do-
let's
don't
watch
blame.
that again, Richie.
We
That
can do it
bow's
slow.
fast.
Okay, the deer is facing him.
Yeah, I mean, hard quartering towards.
Hard quartering.
Wow.
It almost looks like it went underneath the deer.
It looked like the deer turned and it hit it pretty good to me.
It looked like he would have gotten everything.
Yeah.
Well, we can do it in slow motion now. And
I mean,
now
it looks like she spun
watch
and it
this.
just hit right in the boiler room. Oh, that is
man.
money.
Yeah.
Okay, what organs do you think he hit?
I would
It
say.
looks like he hit the
He hit on
front
the
of
left-hand side, so could have he hit the liver? Because he went in on the left hand side. Could have he hit the liver? Because the liver's on the right side.
Right.
He entered on the left side, so could have he hit the liver, do you think? If you were there, oh, did I hit the liver or not? What do you think?
I don't think he hit the liver.
If there was more on the right, then it would. I would think he would get one of those lobes on the back end of the right side of the liver, maybe.
Okay.
But gosh, it looked like he may have gotten the front of the left lung and mid of the right lung, maybe the top of the heart. I don't know.
I was going to say top of the heart and two lungs.
Well,
but,
I said he looked like he got everything she had to make.
yeah, that's right.
Okay, Mr. Ritchie, let's get the proof in the pudding.
But yeah, shooting at something like that in the South, our deer are just so jumpy, and
Well, came in right there. Oh, came out back there at the back rib. But it's obviously mate. I mean, we're looking
So-
at the rib
and then
cage.
he's going to show the
So
organs
he knew
here.
she was going to,
Spin.
yeah.
Okay, the coloring on that. He
Double
ended up,
lung.
and watch where he ended up hitting. At the very end here, he's going to lift something up, show you something else.
So we're looking at a hand going through this deer's vital organs.
Yes.
And
Dude,
there's-
the boiler room is on
And
the
this is
floor.
everything that I live for is this right here.
yeah.
Now, he's picking this
Oh.
up. Now he's going to show you the liver. There's
got
where
a
it's
little
attached to
liver,
the
too.
diaphragm.
Yeah.
and that may be where the arteries are in the liver, kind of where
Yes.
all of it comes together.
Yes. So,
So you think he's like, oh, I'm gonna hit this thing right here and decrease the liver and the diaphragm, or you think he's like, I'm just gonna shoot it?
this is when I went back and watched that in detail. I put these 4 arrows together. This is about as big a kill zone that X. When you said earlier, we want to shoot to make the biggest kill zone possible.
Yeah, the highest percentage shot.
The highest percentage shot. And that's when people ask me, where do you shoot a deer? I give them 2 answers. One, people who are into heart shots are going to shoot them in the heart. So then we talk about heart shots and broadheads. And then we talk about what I call the perfect kill shot, which is my job is to search out the largest kill area on the animal, exactly where that is, because I want to shoot at the biggest paper plate I can. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm not a good
Yes.
shot. So, and that's not the heart. So that's a come ideal too. But where he hit that deer, when it spun, this is about as big a kill zone as he had. that
So
little
about a
circle down there.
2-inch circle.
Not much, not much. And he literally aimed, and that deer dropped and turned, and he aimed and came on the inside of the glenohumeral joint of the shoulder on the inside. It turned and he hit on the outside right there. So, I mean, it's incredible, but.
Yeah, I agree. With a kill zone that small, even though that is very effective, why not just wait until that deer turns around a little bit?
And just so you know, one of my goals that I want to get if I get this built up is if I want to save 150,000 deer for being crippled, one of the things I want to do is this. If we have the pursuit of getting a Pope and Young buck, right, we're trying to get a big whatever it is, I want to set a goal of this. And I got to come up with a name for it. You're the marketing guy, Bobby, help me. The 5-Arrow Club. 5 shots, 5 dead deer, no follow-up shots, no cripples, no misses. And then 10. Because if I can get people to say, I'm going to fire 5 arrows and 5 deer, and I'm not taking the shot, how many deer are not going to be crippled as a result of that? So that's another goal that I want.
I like that. It's like a challenge. And
it is. And you get your name in it.
So, you know, people like to brag about getting a limit or something. You can brag about
5 arrows, 5 dead deer. Yep.
I like it.
So you guys help me get it going. We'll call it the Mossy Oak Challenge.
I just got to get one first, and then we can worry about the next 4.
Now, this is Bobby's style right here, what's on the screen.
Okay, now get ready on this one here. Look, watch real close.
When
This
their
is the
head's
one at
longer
the
than their
ATA.
body. Yeah.
This is the one at the ATA people didn't believe.
Are we looking at the deer on the right?
Deer on the right. It's going to go quick.
Oh.
Play it in slow motion.
Wow.
So we had a young doe head down feeding.
And it almost looked like it just...
Okay, now here we're going to go slow.
Ooh. That to me is a low shot.
Well, I have a thought on that. So. If you'd asked me that this morning, I'd have said dead deer. After looking at his little anatomy, I'd have
that's
said
a low shot.
Low shot.
That's
So
low
you
shot
think
for
that
me.
went below the heart?
I think it went below the heart too.
Yeah.
100%. And I think that's where most people make the mistake.
Okay, 2 below the heart. Dudley, come on now. Put him on the table, buddy. You got to
Well,
talk. You got to talk. Let me have it.
Richie accidentally went to the next slide.
Richie's.
But,
Richie.
I mean, watching a lot of stuff on TV, I mean, it looks like a dead deer to me. It looks like he got a pass through, maybe clip the bottom of the heart. That would be my guess.
Now, at
Especially
the
since you're looking
ATA,
at it.
That's
almost
not a
every-
heart he's looking at though.
Almost everybody at the ATA said it's a heart shot. You guys said a heart shot, but low.
I say,
He hit the liver and not the heart.
how in the
Now,
world?
now we're talking. Now remember, the Brian Johnson, this deal is the perfect kill shot documentation project. There ain't no arguing. There's a hole.
There's a
in
hole
that
in the
liver.
liver. Yeah, I can see it. I see it right there.
And there's no hole in the lungs.
And the deer the arrow went in on the left side,
Went in on the right side.
went on the right side,
Right? Yeah. No, went in on the.
went on the left side.
No, went
She
in
was
on-
facing left.
It was on the right side. She was facing. Yeah, but it went in on the right side. You want to play it again?
Yeah, she
Play it
was. She
again.
was.
My
Her
question is,
right.
she's so small though, does it make a difference if it's just a smaller target?
Actually, for Texas, that was an adult doe from where he hunts. This is southern Texas.
Okay.
Down on the border.
Oh,
Take a
yeah,
look
you're
at
right. It's on the right side.
You see that?
Yeah.
Now, do you see where the hole is? If we can go real, is there any way we can pause it, Richie, right as the arrow hits it at all, or not? Because I want. Okay, right
Oh.
there. There you see it. Okay.
Oh,
That
my
does not look like a
goodness.
liver shot.
Now, here's some things to talk about why from
Look
a
at this.
physiological side. Can you believe that? Isn't it just neat though? Because there's no argument. There's a hole there, and there's no hole in the.
I mean,
Right.
that just looks like it's right in the pocket, you know, maybe a little low.
Yeah.
But here, let's take a look at some things. Where is that leg?
Yeah.
That bone that's right there is called the olecranon. It's our elbow. That on a normal deer, and I mean I've studied this the nth, as a rule, they vary as they get older, is along the bottom of the belly of the deer. Here it's way up there. Do you see the angle of the leg bone
Yeah.
right there? It's angled back. So it's an illusion.
It's a lot farther back
It's
than it
farther
looks.
back than what at first, because we're used to using the leg as a reference. So when that leg goes back, it's hitting farther back than we think that it is. The other thing to get into from a physiological standpoint is what is the deer doing? It's feeding, right?
Yeah.
What's the position of its back? It's hunched up.
Yeah.
We just had lunch, right? We ate a little bit too much, somebody told me, Dudley,
Well, I
right?
did.
Guess what happens when you're pregnant or you eat too much? Your stomach pushes upon your diaphragm. And I lost 50 pounds, I know that. So when you hunch up, and what's the liver attached to? The diaphragm. And when you breathe, what's your diaphragm do? It goes in and out. So if you were to shoot an animal and the exhalation process, you breathe out, your diaphragm's forward, you're hunched over pushing it forward, the stomach's filled up pushing it forward like you're pregnant full of things, and the leg is back. You take all those things together, and then the other thing is the liver, not all of them, they're along the back, they go down, and if they're bigger, they can go all the way to the belly. A pig's liver will go all the way to the belly, touch its belly, and go backwards. They're so much bigger than on a deer. But where he hit, and the other thing is he's angled back. The deer's quartering at him. So you take all those little minute things, the leg's back, it's hunched over, the stomach. You take all those things, because you look at this, you got to go, that's impossible. But then when you start studying it and you start understanding it, then it can start making sense. But when I see that, I mean, everybody at the ATA, heart shot, heart shot, heart shot, heart shot. Yeah.
And but some guy said liver. That's a tough one right there.
The only thing where people can get it right is they know that I'm showing stuff that's tricky.
Right.
And so they know, okay, they think it's a heart shot, so that means it's not. So
they already know it's kind of a trick question.
Yeah. Otherwise, if I don't show any just perfect double lung shots, they go,
Right.
what does that teach?
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Wow.
Do you have anything else, Richie, or is that on the deer? And then again, you saw that he hit the very bottom of it.
You
with
see
the
that. I mean, no doubt about it. The meat maker.
Isn't that interesting by seeing this?
Look at that.
Wow.
Yep, and then he goes back, he documents exactly. Now, watch this. See where that's the olecranon. See how that's level at the bottom there on this? So you can see there, it's low, but it's still angled back. And this here is the diaphragm pushed forward when it's dead, when it's relaxed. So that will show you, and I can show you stuff on my website where the liver at the very bottom comes forward and can push that liver way closer to the heart than you think if you shoot low. And there's when we need to get into talking too about the heart shot versus a perfect kill shot anatomically and things like that too. So, and then these are all the stuff we do. Do you see there he inflated the lungs to see where they hit, where they didn't hit. And one of the things I want documented for scientific is what rib did you hit? I have to know I went in at this rib, I came out at this rib, because then how far back do the lungs go? Which is another thing that we want to talk about. Oh yeah, we do have another one.
I'm going to end up field dressing every deer from here on out.
Yeah. Doing an autopsy.
I know you do anyway, but.
Okay, so now watch this.
1/4. Oop.
Okay? What did he hit? First off, did the deer live or die? And then what organs hit? So
that kind of looks like your classic no man's land shot.
I was going to say the same
what people
thing.
would refer to as no man's land.
Over the lungs, under the spine.
That's
lived?
just.
You say a deer lived?
Deer lived.
One live?
I'm thinking it's a trick question, and the deer died.
That's the deal. He's playing
That
the
looks
card
like your
game
classic no man's land where the deer
shot.
keeps going.
Yeah.
My big 10-point.
See, Bobby's
I lost.
reading me.
The biggest deer I've ever shot with a bow, same way.
Remember, a trick question is an obvious one that you think it's a trick question, so you try to second guess it, and you should stick with your first thoughts.
All right, Bobby, your turn.
Yeah, I wish I could see it one more time, but that's not fair to continue to watch it. But
It might have gotten a lung.
Yeah, it could have got the top of a lung or both lungs.
Which side of the body is he on?
Left.
And it's a frontal shot, so could have he hit the liver?
Yeah. I mean, from what you're saying now, he could.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay.
Didn't get much penetration.
Could you stop it, Richie, at the one point where they could see the arrow, so you see, really get a good look at where it is?
That looks so much like that shot on my deer I never recovered.
Right there.
Ooh.
There you go.
Yeah, he clearly
that's
got
hard.
it.
Yeah.
He will have gotten liver with that one.
Yeah. It's a little bit further back than I thought. And a little bit lower than I thought it was, too, when he slowed
Okay,
down.
so now we got more information, because I like the first shot, because that's what we have as hunters. You're up there, shoot, they run away. That's what you see.
Got him.
So that,
Not high at all.
No. Looks almost like center mass.
and it angles downwards.
Okay.
So maybe left lung and
Now,
and
let me
liver?
say, I'll tell you, okay, yeah, go ahead and play it, Richie. Now watch this. This is cool. Inflating the lung. Right there's the hole where it went in, and there is the broadhead exodus hole lining up in the lung at the 10.5 rib, exactly where he hit it.
Huh.
He went in at the 10.5 rib, and that broadhead
came
went
out of
back.
the leg?
And people do not believe that the lung went that far back.
Yeah.
They just didn't believe it, but there it is. And that's how come when I go over the ribs, I call that Randy's 10.5 rib doe. He shot a doe the next week, because he's my friend, at the 7th rib, and he hit the same spot in the lung. The lungs move. That's how come I tell people all the models I make, they're all a lie. What do you mean they lie?
We talk about that all the time.
We're breathing organs. It's not static. I can't make it out of fiberglass or anything because they move.
Well, you know, Bobby times his shots for when the lungs are
When we talk
expanded.
about no man's land, it's like he'd breathe all his air out, so there was a hole in there. You know, that'd have been full, you'd have killed him. You know, I don't know if
It
that's
is.
true.
There's just a lot to it.
There's a lot, and then we call it jumping the string, but the movement that they have afterwards, I mean, changes everything.
But so my quick takeaway on this is my eyes are seeing that fletching be up high as it's going in from that angle, and it made me think he hit the deer a little higher. So I don't know that you can trust your eyes a lot of these.
I promise you can't. Mm-hmm. That's just not, you can't.
Especially with a lighted knock.
But
Who's going to invent a lighted area right behind the broadhead instead of
Or just a
the
glowing
knock?
broadhead, yeah.
But if you're the shooter, that arrow is going exactly dead away from you. There's no angle per
You
se
can
like
see
it
it.
is here on the television. So I think that would help.
Now, when he shot this, he was with his brother. I was in the blind. I did the video work, which is why it's so bad. It's before I had my good camera. We came back up. We watched the video. It was in the snow. We had fresh powder snow. She went away, stopped, hunched up, so we knew what he hit. You know, when a deer hunches up, you know what that means. Went a little ways, and we could tell she hung up there, so we knew. So we went up there and we waited. And they go, I liver shot her. I said, you didn't hit him in the liver. And you got to realize, these are people that know me personally. They don't know me. They don't believe all the stuff that I'm saying. Brian don't know nothing. I mean, I'm a nobody back in the people that know me land, right?
Right.
And
Same with us.
So when I told them, you didn't hit the liver. We didn't get him, Brian. You don't know we didn't hit the liver. And I said, you didn't hit the liver. You don't know that, Brian. I just, okay. Because he hit it on the left side. And the angle going back, he couldn't hit the liver. And that's where when we gutted it, and then we inflated the lungs to line the lung up with the hole in the rib, can't argue that. And then they saw the livers on the right side that he couldn't have hit that. That helped get my friends, I mean, people I'm almost related to, on my side to want to help me because they can see I'm going on a journey to teach things that everybody gets into hunting. It should be a basic thing to know that the liver's on the right side. I mean, that's something that should be taught.
Good point.
And
I think
so-
he's dead on with that one.
Yeah, so. But anyway, I call that Randy's 10.5 rib doe. Now,
And did he hit the lung while shooting the 10.5?
he hit the lung, and here's it now. Let's talk about something else interesting. Let's talk about the blood trail, because what he ended up hitting, he hit the lung, he went back through the spleen, and the spleen's real thin, doesn't amount to a whole bunch. Then he went through the stomach, the intestines, he hit the femur, the back leg, and busted it. It took her 2 hours to die. Remember, this is fresh powder snow up in the north where we live, so we went there and followed it with a flashlight, saw she was alive, so pulled back out. Went back there later, and then 2 hours later, she was virtually dead. Took 2 hours to die. So, fresh snow, shot through the lung. The exit hole was the size of a .22, because just the tip of an Exodus broadhead, just a 3-blade, just punctured through. That's just a little carbide tip. That's it. So, how much blood do you think came out from that lung where the arrow went in? Because this is very important. Because now we get into blood trailing and why.
So there wasn't a big hole for the exit.
Right.
There was not.
It'd have been tough. I mean, because you'd like to have a high hole and a low hole.
But he had a perfect lung shot on the entrance, right there.
I would think there wasn't much blood.
A lot of internal bleeding.
But from the lung hole, because lung blood generally sprays, right? You can have, if you measure it, you can get 4 feet, you can have almost 8 feet of mist. Is what it is to me, right? When they hit, is that sprays out, right? He never had a drop, anything on the skin, anything, at the whole time when she's dying on that side of that lung. When we lifted her up, gravity, the blood poured out of that hole. So if the blood's coming out of that hole where he hit her because he hit the lung, how come no blood came out of that hole? And again, from a hunter's standpoint, this is very, very, very important.
It's like a vent, you know?
Okay.
I vaguely remember
Vent.
we covered this
Like a vent on a gas can.
with
I mean,
Doc
Yeah.
months ago. But so, yeah, it's like there wasn't a hole. I don't know my lingo, but There wasn't a way for it to exit.
Well, there was a hole right on the outside, just like there would be, but it was only one. You're right. So as far as the venting and the pressures,
Yeah,
that's a
venting.
dynamic. But here is, if you think about this, when I asked you earlier how they die when they're shot through the lungs, you said they collapse, right? Now, when you gut a deer, the lungs are always collapsed, right? And sometimes there's more puff to them than others, which is kind of interesting to me. But where are the lungs inside the cavity when you gut the deer? They're collapsed, but where are they? Where do they gather together?
Well, we hang ours by the back legs, so they're usually
Okay.
down there in the chest cavity.
Even if you put them on the side, wherever you put them, they all collapse and they come in around the heart. That's where they're at. So now just follow this. If you're shooting them at the back of the lung and the lungs collapse, it goes forward and down.
So it's got to fill that.
Well, the hole, if you cut myself right here in my skin, I'm going to be bleeding out there. But if the source of blood is the lung that's on the inside, and the next thing you know where that hole of the lungs hit here, all of a sudden that lung's shrinking away. So the blood's coming out here, but the hole's way back up here. So the source of the blood does not line up with the source of the hole. And that's how come on lung shots, you get great blood trails and sometimes you don't. And that has to do with where the lungs go in relationship to where they end up being at, of the blood coming out.
That
Makes a lot of sense, yeah.
Because we used to say, well, boy, his lungs finally filled up with blood, and now they're spraying out.
That's another thing that I really want to deal with, because you always hear that they gotta fill up before they do it. Well, I took a deer that I shot. I actually shot it through the pancreas. I took all the blood and put it in a jar. I got 3.5 quarts. So you figure there's about a gallon there. And what I want to do is go back in a deer that's dead and take red water. I don't want to get gross and use blood, but I mean just some red water in the thorax cavity. Cut it when the heart, it's still in there, cut it. And I want to pour that much water, because I only have to do is 40% and you're dead. 40% of your blood's what they say. So that would be if they have less than a gallon and 40% is less than half. So less than 2 quarts, 1.5 quarts, they'd be dead. Well, if you just take a quart and you pour it in the bottom around the heart there, that's not going to go up very high. So the whole theory of how they've got to go up so high before they start bleeding, when that much blood got out of them, filled up, they'd be long dead. So, and off the subject, since we're on this, one of the questions I have is this, and I just contacted Jack Frost about this. When we get into bear hunting, I know you guys aren't in bear hunting as much as this, but bears die in about half or a third the time that a deer does. It's very common to shoot a bear through both lungs and they go 30, 40 yards. I've shot 6. My son got to be the 7th this last year. We've never had one go over 50. They go and they drop fast, and yet they give a death moan. So where does all that air, when that diaphragm, if they're dead, how can that diaphragm still keep working, and how can that happen? And how can they die in 30 yards so quick? And I've seen, it's like, what happened? It happens over and over and over, and you watch it. And I asked Jack about that, and he didn't know. So for me, that's a journey that I want to try to find out.
Do they have the division between the
They
lungs?
do. You see, you're way ahead of me. I went up and I thought, I know why they're doing it. They don't have a mediastinum,
Right.
so both lungs collapse together, which we haven't got into how that works on broadheads, which we need to. And I was sure that's what it was. But they've got a mediastinum.
They do,
so
yeah.
that's not it. Yeah.
Oh, dang.
I'm just wondering if it's something to do with the pressure on their lungs is so much more in their cavity, so that air comes in and collapses it quicker. That's
Makes sense.
well, it's a guess. It's a neat thing of the journey I'm on.
It's a good
to say, I
guess.
don't know, but I want to know. Well, it's a good guess because we don't know. So, but
Well,
now
you're just going to have to go on more bear hunts
Yeah.
to collect more data.
Well, in 2 weeks, I'm going to be in Canada. I've got 8 guys that hopefully I can film. And I got another guy in Quebec that wants to do it, but I can only be at one place at one time. That's why I need a bunch of cameramen up there to document it. So pretty fun though, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about some of these props you built and,
Okay.
and explain what's going on here.
All right, let's go here. Okay, here's this one here. Now, the story of this deer is you see this is a monster buck. I wanted a small one on purpose. You see how we transport him in here? My son hadn't shot a deer in 10 years. He shot it in the same place Randy's doe was there.
Lanny, did you shoot? This looks like a deer you would have shot.
My deer don't have horns that I shoot.
So
It's a big 1.5-year-old
this
deer.
deer is not mounted on a taxidermy mannequin. This is reproduced from the skeleton. The inside of the rib cage is in here. This is the thorax cavity. And the thorax cavity basically is just the rib cage, except inside the diaphragm. I molded this. So when it's upside down, I held it there. I mix up Bondo and resin. Like I said, I live in fiberglass, and I molded the whole inside. Okay.
So the front 2/3 of that would be the vital,
Yeah, it's wherever the
vital.
diaphragm is, and then where the lungs go on the inside of it. Yes, but that's the exact size of where they fill up of what they do. So his actual ribs are in here. I took his heart. I made a mold of its heart, which I can take out and show you now, and I've got it for a teaching thing on how that works.
Reaching there just like Indiana Jones.
There it is. There's its heart. I did this. This part here is actually the heart. I just put it basically in dirt, and I made a fiberglass mold of it. But that
That's
is
cool.
the size of this deer's heart. The skull of this deer is put in here. The shoulder bones of this here are in this deer here. It's all reproduced from scratch, which is why I couldn't sculpture it the way I do, which is why the legs turned out so bad. I had to have a guy weld a rod for me and sculpture around it, and I got the rod bent there, and I hate my legs, how bad
It
they
looks
turn
pretty
out.
good to me.
Whatever works, yeah.
Yeah.
But this shows on the inside, and what this is designed to do, because again, everything I'm doing it for a teaching thing. So, in this here has got to do with our quartering shots, we get into that. But primarily, what this one was designed to do is to be able to show you what I call the fire hydrant shot. Because when you ask, where do you shoot a deer, we talked about earlier, how did you phrase it? You phrased it better than I
The
did.
highest percentage
The
shot.
highest percentage shot. I call it the biggest kill zone, same thing. Well, a lot of people shoot at the heart. So for the people that shoot at the heart, I wanted to be able to illustrate some things of where to shoot them, where not to, and what's good and bad. Because now this gets into broadheads. But what I've got is on the top of that heart, which you didn't see, I got a hole put in there. In the fire hydrant shot is basically, you talked earlier, you talked about having the heart with the broadhead in it and the deer lived. When you shoot the heart, you're still shooting a muscle. The blood loss is on the blood vessels on top of the heart. That's what we really want to hit. And I call that the fire hydrant shot because you're taking the top of the fire hydrant out. The heart can still pump. We want the heart working, but boop,
Going out
right
everywhere.
on the top. That's where it's at. So that's where this is at. So what happens if you want to shoot it on this deer, and you're on the ground, that's hitting the top of the heart. Now, as you go up in a tree, where do I have to hit that when I'm up in a tree to hit that spot? I've got a pivot on there, so no matter where I
Oh, look
go,
at there.
that hits the exact same spot wherever I'm at. So now what's going to be, remember I told you I have that patent that I can tell you where it's at? That in the target that I'm coming out with that's going to be released, that is all based 100% on, I call them vertical trajectory degree downward angles. So what I do is I can take that if you're up in a tree, and that's what this chart shows over here. If you're up in a tree, let's say 20 feet, the deer's out 20 yards. This is when I cheated, just to make it simple. The downward trajectory angle is 20 degrees, okay? So all I have to do is if I know that, and your rangefinder tells you, okay, there's 20 yards, but nobody uses it, there's also a degree angle there. So with that degrees, if I put this, I call this a protractor, I lift that bad boy up there to 20 degrees, right there,
And that's your angle.
that is absolutely the most perfect shot. And then if you go up, I've got my cheat sheet over here. I got my Pythagorean theorem. See my little triangles I've got?
Oh,
right
yeah.
There we go. I got it
A²
there in
plus
front of
B
me.
squared.
So if you do the
3,
same
4,
thing,
5.
Brian Pythagoras.
well, if you put him at 10 yards, it's 35 degrees. I'll do that quick. That goes there. And if he's at 5 yards, now you've got 53 degrees. This is in my way here. So we'll get you up about there. Every one of those gets the same shot. Okay. The problem is, and the reason I don't recommend the heart shot, but if you're one of those crack shots that you can put it there, how am I to tell you not to? Is you're dealing with the devil's triangle, and you're dealing with the chance of being able to hit these bones. This is on the opposite side, but this shows
That
how they
It's
move.
very
cool.
interesting. It is.
So, and that's all magnetized. to
I
be able
never
to-
realized it did that.
So now, with the highest percentage shot of what you're talking about, what I recommend is going back 2 inches beyond the middle of the heart. Just that little bit, because remember, if we go low, guess what we can hit? The liver is a lot closer down low when this goes back than you think it is, right? So we got to be very careful, because if you're going to go back farther, you've got to go higher, because the lungs are, the farthest back the lungs are, they're at the highest. Now this opens up the thing on broadheads. What broadheads are the best to use? If you're shooting for a heart shot and you make a bad shot, because remember, sharp broadhead, perfect shot placement, blah, blah, we know all the basics. We're looking for a broadhead that's going to kill the animal if I don't make a good shot, right? That's what we're wanting it for. So if you are shooting for a heart shot, your whole archery setup has got to be geared towards hitting bones. If you go back, what I recommend, just beyond the back of the scapula, just back that 2 inches. So now I'm not going to hit the bones, But if I shoot back, I could hit the guts. Then I'm interested in having as big a broadhead as I can because then I have a chance of a gut shot. So in other words, heart shot, bones are the problem. Back farther, guts are the problem. So you want a solid broadhead that's going to break through this, a bigger, higher poundage bow, better arrows, all that stuff. You go back farther here, you're not having that trouble, you can have a bigger broadhead. Kind of some basics on that there. And that's what this slot here, that shows this here, just behind it that much. That goes into showing the same thing. I have a pivot system that goes in there that shows the same thing. Because this here, I can only pivot this up that high. That's it. And now I'm in the shoulder blade. If I go back here, I can take it. I can go, if I take this off, I can go all the way up there and still make that shot. As long as I get inside that backbone, and I can come all the way here and angle it down and make it. So,
For all those people that like to get 37 feet up in the tree.
well, the higher you go, the smaller your target becomes.
Well,
It's just that simple.
Where that arrow is placed, where he's saying ideal, that's about where I would have thought it would be.
Remember I told you to begin with, the spot that
For the
I'm telling
hard
people to
shot.
shoot isn't any different. It is, honestly, it's basically in the crease. And mathematically, it's 41%. And again, deer vary, so whatever I tell you, there's no hard fast. But 41%, if you take this measurement from the top to the bottom, 41% from the bottom is going to give you the middle of the height of the thorax cavity. Because really all we're doing is taking the bottom of the backbone, the top of the sternum, what is that
One good
distance,
middle,
and putting it
right.
right in the middle. That's pretty simple.
And in a perfect world, you would want that deer to take one more step with his left leg
Yeah,
forward.
that's
going
exactly
forward.
right. But I made this tricky, as you know I want to do, so I put it back. And I mean, I don't know, because when the leg goes back, like you saw in that video, it kind of messes everything up on
Oh
it.
yeah, 100%.
So, yeah, and then plus here, you get a longer fur deer, you don't see the olecranon on, you're not sure quite where that goes in there, so.
That's a heck of a teaching aid, right
Yeah,
there.
it is.
Yeah, very
Everything he's got is great teaching aids.
Now, we can't leave without talking about the no man's zone. I don't know if we're going to do it now.
Yeah, we
but
need to
that's
talk
gotta
about no
come up.
man's land.
Let's go for it.
Let's do it.
Before you go there, where that arrow is sticking in that deer, where would those lungs start?
Okay, go to the front shoulder on him. And this is why I brought my man cave buck, to get a little free publicity out of it too. But if you take a look at the shoulder ball, I don't, what do you guys call it, the shoulder? Do you have a name for what you call that? The shoulder ball, technically it's called the glenohumeral joint.
Just the ball and
Yeah, we
side.
call it the shoulder.
Ball inside. Well,
Shot
you know,
him
when
in the
people
shoulder.
think of the shoulder, they think of all the bones. They
Yeah.
don't have, the vernacular's not there. But if you take a look at where that shoulder ball is there, that lines up with the first rib. And the lungs go all the way to the first rib. So that's just how far forward they go. But if you take a look at how narrow they are there, now this
Yeah.
gets into the anatomy.
Yeah.
Take a look at this here. See how narrow that is in the front? Look at that. Look at that from that top view. Very, very narrow. Very, very not tall there in the front. Plus you've got all the bones right around there. The backbone sits in here. The backbone actually sits down inside. So you don't have a lot, even though the lungs are there, it's a very small area right up in there. But when that guy hit that one there, he was clearly in the lungs. Beautiful. But the deer just happened to cant like that, or roll. Caused him to do that.
You were like a coroner that had just analyzed all this.
Well,
CSI.
Yeah. Are there any like? I mean, to create the things that you've created, you've gotten your hands bloody and dirty a lot.
well, I mean, what would you think if you're working on something for 50 years? The reality is nobody has come close in the world, close to the time I've spent doing this. But I've been not doing it for, I never thought I was going to do this. It's just, I'm like those little kids, you know, Daddy, why?
Yeah, wow.
I just always wanted to examine. I wasn't going anywhere with it. It just was, but then as a sculptor, I need to understand how these things are more. And so,
Yeah.
I would like to think
So-
of this as more of a ministry for people that hunt.
So, and then
That's what I told
stand
Bobby.
up?
Sure.
Can I stand up? So this is showing those angles too. So
yes. That's exactly right with the angles. Now that'll tell us, from that, I can show you kill zone sizes.
Right.
Okay, so remember I told you the different angles? Okay, would you like to do that there? Can I slip over there in the corner, Richie, somehow? This is going to be a little bit tricky. I got to get him out of my way. So let's take,
I'll move for you.
well, I got to move him up and down both ways. So now if we go back to my cheat sheet here, let's do him do you want to do him at 5 yards or 10 yards?
Let's do 10.
Let's do 10, okay? So that's 35 degrees, okay? So now let's take a look at what we have. This is, I only brought this one, but I have cross-sectional views, like you took a deer to a bandsaw and you cut it, from all the places from the rear of the lung, which is real thin and big. This one, I cut it right where the heart would be, right through here, okay? This is the outside of the deer. These are the shoulder blades up on top. This is the backbone here. These are the lungs, as you can start seeing how narrow they get right in through there, okay? And there's heart. So now we're gonna be dealing with 35 degrees. Okay, so I gotta see how I'm gonna get over here to do this. So we'll take the top one first. I'm gonna put that at 35 degrees right there, okay? So that's the angle I want. Now, do you see how that's hitting the backbone now? Mm-hmm. Now, if you have a 2-inch broadhead, I have to go an inch below that backbone for that 1 inch to clear that, right? So now let's take a look at that there. I'll move that down, and I won't measure it exact. We'll get it. That looks probably pretty close, right? Okay, so there's that one there. I'll check it again at 35. I'll get her close. Okay, we have that there. Then I'm going to get my bottom one. Now the bottom one, that looks about right. Okay, that should be there. And then this one here in the middle, I got to bring that down there. Right in the between them.
These teaching aids she's got are incredible.
Oh man, it seems to be part of better education for sure.
Very impressive.
If you look on the outside of this here, this gives us how big a kill zone that I have here. From there to there, I've got
6 inches.
Yeah, 6 inches, 5 3/4 there. And this tells me how high I can hit on the animal. And this tells me how low I can hit on the animal. Okay? And then that would tell me, you should see that should be down a little bit there, but I don't want to take time to adjust. That would give me the perfect kill shot. And part of my teaching of where I'm going with this is, if I can tell you the exact spot where to hit, now that allows you, with me who's a bad shot, to still be high, low, right or left, and still kill the animal. Yeah. So it's a big deal to me because I'm a bad shot. There's other guys that make perfect shots, so it doesn't make any difference.
Look, even if we're good shots, those deer move. I mean, that's they just move when you shoot.
Okay, now you brought that up, so now from my standpoint, let me ask you guys this question. I'm an American, I'm a conservative, I don't want to tell anybody what to do. But it comes into something like this here. How long a shot is an ethical shot? My daughter shot a deer this year at 17 yards with a 53-pound bow. She was in a blind.
That's about what I shoot.
And that deer at 17 yards dropped, and we put like dots on the screen. Here's where it was, and it dropped, and where she hit it. She hit it in the top of the heart. But if it wouldn't have dropped, according to how I had it, she would hit the humerus bone. Mm-hmm. And how can they drop that much at 17 yards? And I had, when I was in the taxidermy business, this is going back maybe 40 years ago, I had a guy that made a shot at 42 yards on a deer, and he hit the humerus bone, and he busted it. In gun season, they got it, but it was diseased. It was yucky. Mm-hmm. They couldn't eat it. And I said, you made hitting that humerus bone at 42 yards. If that was at 20 yards, you would have shot him right in the heart. But the farther you went, your degree of angle is there. So I've got, and that's what I'm wondering, what do I do from my position to tell people? Because I know me, when I get an animal in front of me, I don't turn into this Brian Johnson guy, I'm sitting here, here's how you do it. I turn into Mr. Guy up there in the tree, and there's a deer, he's going to go through the opening, I got to let go or not, and I shoot. Well, that's reality. That's what I'm going to come across and tell you right up, I'm a hypocrite.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to, like everything in life, get to be a better person. But I'll tell you, man, you're sitting out there for a whole year waiting to get a shot, and you're freezing and stuff there, the deer's coming, you go to shoot, he turns, he goes away, do I shoot or not? You got to make a decision, shoot or you don't. But, so the question for you guys is, what do you think about longer distance shots? Because the reality is the farther they go. Now, on the other hand, Jack Frost, and he gave me permission to say this, the farther shots he takes, he makes better shots when they're closer, because there is an argument, when they're farther away, you aim more. When they're closer, you're more nervous, and you'll make a worse shot. So it's not, just like life, it's not all black and white, is it? Mm-mm.
Lanny, we're always in here. We always have these interesting guests, and you're always on your computer. What's up?
I'm looking at Onyx the whole time. I love that, but I love the desktop too.
My favorite thing is Bobby doesn't know how to shut his computer down,
Yeah.
so I can go in there and share his pins to my account.
That's what you were doing in there this morning.
Yep.
Back during deer season, I shot a couple of big bucks.
Of
But
course.
As I'm looking for them, I can
Couple.
turn on this tracking feature.
Yeah.
And I can see where I've looked.
And I use that feature too for spreading seeds, spreading fertilizer, spraying. It really keeps you on track.
Onyx is a great company. Look, we know Jared. They're hunters,
They
just
are.
like we are. So
Yes,
they're
no
serious
doubt
about
about
this.
it.
The way they've designed this thing, a hunter and a gamekeeper can take advantage of it and make their property better.
Use coupon code Mossy Oak to save 20% off of your Onyx subscription.
Yeah, and Mac, you shouldn't do that now. Richie, you got to help me. Okay.
Hey y'all, it's Jim Ronquist here with Drake Waterfowl and Old Tom Turkey Products, talking about some of the new lineup for this spring. One of the more popular is the SWT collection, or Spiderweb Technology. This is a highly breathable micro-vented stretch fabric for maximum silent mobility with a durable water-repellent finish that'll keep you cool and keep you dry and keep you going in the spring woods. Be sure and check it out at a dealer near you or drakewaterfowl.com/Old Tom.
So what do you guys think? Tell me. What do you think you'd do if you're in my position? What do you give me advice to help me?
With a bow.
With a bow.
With a compound
long distance
bow.
shooting, compound, yep.
I mean,
I think it depends.
it definitely depends. And so much is on the deer behavior too, how nervous they are. I mean, I know they'll all jump a string, have the possibility to, but it's so situational.
Yeah, if it's quiet outside.
Yeah.
Well, Clint Eastwood
versus-
said it best.
As long as there's lead in there, there's hope.
No. Clint Eastwood, a.k.a. Dirty Harry,
Yeah.
said a man's got to know his limitations.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah, and also the terrain, like here it's very thick, out Midwest they've got more open terrain. But for me personally, I am not going to take a bow shot over 35 yards.
I'm closer than that.
I'm a little further than that. I 40 would be.
Well, you're
my-
the goat,
Yeah.
You won the
But I have,
gamekeeper
but I have
archery
at
tournament.
times been like, well, he's 48. I might get it. Just
I've
but you
killed
do
him.
have
I've
to.
killed him further than that. I have, but I mean,
And there are people that can shoot a bow
lot
lights
better than
out
we
at
can.
80
Yeah.
yards
Yeah.
and 75 yards.
So what kind of groups do you guys have at 40 yards?
pretty good.
Yeah, we're touching arrows.
At 40 yards?
Yeah. But in plus the terrain we hunt is very thick around here. You know what I mean? So if you wanted to shoot a whitetail at 80 yards through the woods, you're probably going to hit a tree in between there somewhere.
Think about our deer, and this could be different in Wisconsin, where in other parts of the country. Past 40 yards, our deer's not going to be standing in the same spot when you.
Right.
He's going to move.
Which brings up, if you wanted to make 5 shots and have 5 dead deer, that kind of makes you look at things a little different, maybe.
Yeah, I'm quartering away 35
So you
yards.
have a different goal. You set a new goal for yourself of 5 in a
I'm
row.
hopefully trying to set a new goal instead of a 125-inch Pope and Young.
No, yeah,
new
so
goal
5 for 5.
Yeah,
I like that.
5 for 5.
I like that.
Well, yeah, I'm kind of like that.
Huh.
125 inch.
Well, I mean, you're the bone guy.
I'd like to circle back to head up or head down, because growing up, I always was taught and was always taught that when he's sucking up acorns, he's relaxed and he's not going to drop. But I have learned that's not the
It's
case.
not the case,
When the
yeah.
head's up is when they don't drop as much. And correct me if I'm wrong.
That is something I don't know. My deal in Wisconsin, like I said, I'm not a good shot. 20 yards is it for me. I probably couldn't put him in at 20 yards the way you do at 40. And I always shoot them walking. So I've never seen a deer drop the string. Because when they're walking at 20 yards, you put them on there. When I hunt during the rut, they're walking through the woods. They got their nose down in leaves, oak leaves, crunch, 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 crunch.
And you're shooting them walking. You don't stop them or anything.
No, I never would do that.
Huh.
Why? I mean, at 20 yards.
We'll
if you
bat them around here a bunch.
Well, I'm just saying. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying it's at 20 yards. You put it on. They're walking there like that. You know, like with a shotgun. You don't put you go with them and you just keep right on going and you do it. And at 20 yards, they're moving. There's no dropping. So I've never seen that.
Mm-hmm. So 35 is too far for you.
Oh, just for me, like going bear hunting. I'm going to set up some blinds up there. 20 yards is a long shot. I want them.
I thought I was going to be shorter than everybody else.
No, plus my other deal is if you ask yourself why you hunt, I like up close.
It's how close, no doubt.
Personal. Oh, I
No
like
doubt.
that.
That's why we bow hunt. That's why we turkey hunt.
I
I
like
think
that.
practicing at 40 will make you a better shot at 20, though.
Oh, no doubt
I
about
know.
it.
I have tried. I've got a lot of. I've just got a lot of that target panic stuff and thing there, and I shoot every day. I read everything there is, but
So you go to shake and you don't go to ice cold.
Oh no! When it comes to the animals, I get them.
Yeah.
I get them. I can shoot as good on an animal as a target, but that's not saying much because I don't shoot on targets that good. But because of the target panic, if I were to get nervous on an animal, I'm already that way on a target.
Yeah.
So kind of strange, but.
We've been working with a company, Bear Archery. They've got a Gamekeeper Edition bow. They're really, really nice, and they're not terribly expensive. And they are just when you get one that fits you, it's just so comfortable. And if you get the right weight, you can anchor with that thing, and you can. I think we could help you get through this target panic. I've got some things we can talk
My
through.
problem. Remember, I got a bad shoulder, so I got to put my arm on a crutch. So a friend of mine owns Gearhead Archery, and he made me a carbon bow that's 24 inches here. It weighs 2 pounds
Short
something.
axle
It's really
axle.
so it's light there, so I can hold it on there. And so for me to go into Canada, because if I'm up in a tree, I can't move up or down. So I almost have to have a bait there, and that's the distance I'm going to shoot. I got to put the stick on my foot, pull it back because I got to pull up like this. It's a real pain. But that's a come in a ground blind. Then I'm going to go bear hunting. I'm set a ground blind up. I can stand up, have my crutch on it. I'm in the middle of the blind. I can pull up, and I got a light on my deal, on my sight, so I can see it at 20 yards.
Yeah.
But I'd still rather have it at 17, 16. I mean, I'm a
That
little bit on
does
the
seem
fussy
like the
size.
sweet spot.
The 17.
17, 18 yards.
Yeah.
It allows me when I punch it, because you squeeze, you don't punch it. Because if I squeeze it right, you can do like this. If you punch it and you do the same everything, the thing's bigger. And I want to put that baby in there right on the money, and I want him dead. And I've done that, but.
So, we call it aim small.
Yeah, pick a spot. See that?
Yeah.
Boy, I don't want to talk. I agree to talk about my problem. No, my deal is, I'm just being honest. When that pin goes on the side of the animal, instead of aim small, miss small, pick a hair, all that stuff, I'm just telling you, I've been at this for so long. When that pin hits that side of that animal, next thing you know, it's gone.
Yeah.
So this year, I have to try. What I'm going to do psychologically is when that bear's coming in, I'm going to get mad at him, and I'm looking at that spot. I've got it right, because you can only have your mind on one thing, right? Because you just do it. But if I can stare at just that one spot and do it, that pin's going to go right on there, and then I follow through because I'm sparing after I shoot, and I do way better. But I've got to do it. My problem is I get into the animal, and they come in. I'm looking at the animal. He's going to come over there. I got to move there. So I'm all about when to shoot as opposed to having to. So we're not supposed to be talking about my hunting problems here.
We got a lot of problems ourselves.
We got all kind of problems
yeah.
around here. Trust us.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about no man's land. And,
Yes,
and
sir.
is there
a no man's
Well,
land?
Again, I told you I want everything I do to be documented with evidence. So I'm going to show you what I can know and what I can prove. Now, let's go back to the physiology of these lungs. And I'm going to tell you something that physiologically is not true, that I can prove. First off, remember we said those lungs are in that vacuum, and that's what pulls them to the outside. Because otherwise, when your diaphragm went forward, why wouldn't your lungs totally decompress,
Right.
let the air out of them like when they're dead? It's because there's still that vacuum there. When you breathe in, two things happen. Two things happen that cause your lungs to get more air and get bigger. One is the muscle that you eat when you have rib meat on a deer or an animal you eat. Those are called the intercostal muscles. They literally take your ribs and they make your ribs bigger. And the diaphragm pulls back more. So now you've got this cavity that's like this. Let's just say the thorax cavity is this big. The ribs pull it out. The diaphragm pulls it down. Now it's bigger.
Now you're sucking in air. Yeah.
It's called Boyle's Law. Whenever you take a given space and you enlarge it, that creates negative pressure, and automatically the air we're breathing is a higher, more positive pressure than the internal negative pressure, and the air goes right in. So when you breathe in, it's actually your diaphragm pulling down, your ribs pulling out, and the air automatically shoots in there. And then when you go out, your ribs collapse down, your diaphragm goes forward, and then that pushes the air out. And that's how come when the lungs collapse, literally the air on the outside of the lungs, instead of it being balloons that pop, it's the air on the outside of the lungs. This atmospheric air comes in and it pushes the lungs in. But now here's the catch though. The diaphragm sucks back in, pulls back in, and it's fighting. So there's literally a fight going on between the air coming back in with the diaphragm. Now when that happens, in my elk, here's what can happen. The diaphragm pulls back, the ribs pull out. That air that's trapped in there, collapsing it, if those lungs can expand, you know what can happen? They can push that air right back out that hole. So if you talk to a paramedic, what they'll tell you to do if you find somebody that's shut there, when you breathe out, you want to let that air get out, and then they breathe back in, then you want to take a play-in card or a credit card and cover the hole. So when they breathe in, the air can come in the inside of the mouth, it doesn't get sucked in through here. So, I mean, if you understand, it's just basic plumbing, so to speak, just pneumatic
definitely
pressure.
plumbing.
Yeah. So that's how I look at it, simply from that standpoint, as opposed to a doctor's going to go into more medical stuff. But I'm teaching what I call hunter's anatomy, what we need to know and how it works. So now, no man's land. If that's true, that those lungs are held inside that thorax cavity by that negative pressure.
So on no man's land, we're talking about being able to shoot below the spine and above the lungs.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's a gap between. I didn't find. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's
said that. So if it's true that the lungs are pulled to the outside of that cavity, all the way out, because of that negative, it's called the pleural space, the pleural pressure, the pleural cavity. They have plural for everything in there. If that's true, that means those lungs are filled all the way to the top, if that pressure's there. And I want to make a statement now that you'll probably run me out of here. Well, I can't tell this to people until I've earned their respect or they think I'm nuts. Instead of there being a no man's land below the spine, can I tell them, Doris, or are they going to run me out of here?
No, we're not going to run you out of here.
The lungs go above the backbone.
Whoa.
You're running me out, Doris. Quick, get the car loaded up.
Well, he showed us a moment ago.
Well,
I'm with you.
Remember I said challenge me? I want you to challenge me good because I got proof.
Yeah, no,
So go right
I believe
ahead.
you.
Well, okay, so I'll be the guy to challenge you.
Let me have it, buddy. Let me have it.
If the lungs are inside of the rib cage,
Yes, sir.
how can they physically exit the rib cage to go above the backbone?
Because the ribs go above the backbone.
They do, you're right.
Oh.
And next time when you take the cross-sectional view of a deer, when you make a, what do they call it, a rib steak or, a prime
Venison
rib, whatever
chop.
it is there, a chop, whatever that is.
You are correct, sir.
Well, I've got the ribs right here to show you. We don't got to mess with this. But
Is that what this demonstration, this model here?
Oh, this is what this is about, and we're gonna get into some detail. This is something we had to bring down here. Okay, where would you like this, Richie? You want me to put it here,
Wake up,
or where
Richie.
it's at, or what would you like?
I've been up the whole time, Bobby. You can put on the table.
Okay, now, this is a deer that my son shot. I'm trying to think where because I have got this thing. To me, is for what I'm doing, this is worth $1 million.
Yeah.
No, it is. So we're going to show you right here is where his arrow came in. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right here is where his arrow came out. If I take this off and I show you, I'm going to pass this around. You can hold it here. It's pretty durable. I'm going to show you right through here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to show you where it hit the back. I want you to see it up close. It hit the backbone.
It hit the backbone for sure.
Now,
Oh, wow.
so he hit the backbone, and he's up in the tree, typical 15 feet, deer out 20 yards. You don't need to see it, Bobby?
No, I can see it.
Okay, so he hit the backbone. He came in high here. He came out there. So if there's a no man's land,
You'd think that's where it would be?
he's above the backbone coming in there, right? So now, let's take a look at this. Now, how do I do this, Rich? How do I lift this up here for the
Maybe
camera?
on the couch.
On the couch, there we go. Okay. I'll move Mrs. Elk here over here and give her a bird's eye view there. She can watch everybody, make sure you're behaving. Now, let's go through the story.
Yes, yeah.
Here he is. There's the deer. There's where it went in. There's where it came out. This is the top view angle of it coming in and coming out. This is inside the thorax cavity in the wintertime. You can see the snow, where it came in and where it came out.
Okay.
Okay. Now we're starting to take a look at the lungs. Here's where it came in, where it came out. To hit the top of the lung there. Now, remember, he hit the backbone. So he came in, coming in, he had to
Above it.
descend, hit the backbone. So he came in above the backbone. There's a hole in the lung. There's the hole in the lung. We come all the way down here. There's the aorta. The aorta is the largest blood vessel on a deer. It comes up out of the heart and it goes and attaches through the mediastinum along the backbone. So the lungs went above that. He came down, and you can actually see his blades where he cut that, where he hit just the top of it, cut the aorta, came out through the lung there, and look at how perfect those cuts are right through there that he hit it.
And he went under the backbone and through the lungs.
And he hit the lung
100%.
going
That's
in
crazy.
on the side. Now, I have done this on numerous animals, on bears and stuff, over and over and over. Now, here is a comment that's given to challenge me. Well, Brian, maybe that's in the inhalation process that the lungs are filled. And I'm thinking, well, maybe. I want to see the deer that's shot below the backbone and then examine those lungs where there's no hole there. Because remember I told you what I'm going to tell you is not totally true about the lungs filling up the thorax cavity? That doe that Gavin shot in the liver, right? He came in the thorax cavity, and then he went, which would be where the lungs are, low, and then he hit through the diaphragm to hit the liver. He never hit the lung. So if the lungs fill up that thorax cavity there, how come there's no hole there? Well, then I was down last year on a hog hunt, and a guy shot back through the guts, come out right behind the front leg low, really nice, through a hog. We skinned it, and the exact same thing. The lung was not hit, but he had a black line on the end of both lungs, and so did Gavin's doe. And so I'm assuming it was filled with blood. Now, when I was at this meeting where I spoke, this was down in Georgia where they do the hunt, there was a thoracic surgeon was there. When I was just around talking at the meeting ahead of time as an open house, and I said, will you come to my seminar? I want you to listen to what I say, because again, tell me what I'm doing wrong, because I want to learn.
Welcome the critique.
Yeah, I'm all ready. Let's do it. He came there. Now, here's what I did. This is, Bobby, you think I'm crazy on this. Let me tell you how crazy it is. I told these guys they didn't want to do it, but I forced them to do it. You know what we did there? I brought the hogs that were shot to the meeting.
Oh, there we go.
So I got 3 of them on the floor right there, and the lungs are still in them in the diaphragm.
Yeah.
So here I got a thoracic surgeon right there, a hunter, and I got right here where it's shot in the diaphragm here and where it came out. And there's no hole in these lungs. How can that be? And you know what his answer was? I don't know. So all I know is this. The bottom of the lungs around that heart on one doe and on one pig did not hit the lungs there. So can you imagine why I want 1,000 animals on film doing this? Can you see that if we have a lot of this to prove this?
You need that field research.
I want to create a library. So if somebody wants to go in and lung shots, 10th rib, wherever, because remember, I got to go by the ribs where you hit it. That's what matters. That's something to measure off of, right? I want to have all this evidence for everybody to be able to see. And remember, I'm on a journey. Last year, I was on this for 2 years. I was on podcasts. Reinhardt gave away 3 different free elk targets. You know, do you know how many videos were sent in to me like this? 0, not a one. You know, I went to sports. You know how many people said they're going to send them to me? Hundreds.
No, but not one.
Not one person. But what happened is, though, what's going to change this?
Him up. There's going to be at least one this year.
Well, what's going to happen this year is, though, I hired a consultant to help me on our followers, and we had 700 followers, and he came in and showed us to do shorts, and because I don't know any of this stuff, and now we're up to 15 to 20,000 somewhere there. So hopefully by fall we'll be better, and then the more of this happens, the more people are going to be likely. Like if I could send something in that you shoot and you put it in and I feature that, well, once he does it, he'll do it, and then it'll snowball. But that's what we need, is the evidence that it's documented for everybody to see.
Yeah,
that's why I need your help.
Well, so not only do you need the video, but then you need somebody at the skinning shed to do an autopsy.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing, in fact, what it is I got a video on that. It's got to be the kill shot. If not the kill shot, you don't have it. They can still take where the animal's laying there dead, put a stick in it, went in here, came out there, gut it, skin it, and then see where it hit on the carcass. Then when it's done, what organs were hit, and then what rib it is. Pretty simple.
Yeah. So Lanny, now when I take a deer up to the processor,
you
I can tell, I'm going to need an autopsy on this thing.
Well, you just dump yours out of the truck anyway. So
maybe that's another box I can check for $15 get an autopsy.
We'll call Chris up. See if they can.
Hey, Chris.
If he can make money at it,
that's exactly right. It'd be the spot to do it. That's for sure.
It's pretty interesting how I've just always heard that there's a no man's land. I would have not believed a deer could live with, or an elk getting shot through both lungs. I would not have believed that. And I've always thought there was a no man's land.
I did too.
It's known. Because, I mean, here it was. He sent it to me. I mean, here it is. His wife shot it. Here it is. And she hit it perfect. And then here it's alive. And they got the pictures of the hole there. But I said, we need to get the animal late season. And they got it. And she hit it back in the liver, so everything's there. But he did not save the lungs for me. And so I was furious. I'd have driven a long ways to hold on to them lungs.
And looking at the anatomy, especially the strip cage, in theory, you could go over the spine.
Yeah, the backstrap shot.
The backstrap shot would be no man's
no
land.
man's.
Because Dudley, I'm like, well, the backbone's at the top, but there's
those are a lot taller.
Those are a lot taller than you think they are.
Than I is for sure. And that could be what's happening.
That could be exactly what's happening.
So let me ask this, Brian. Have you, with all this research, have you like put together mentally to be able to say to somebody, okay, you need to only be 12 yards high or 12 feet high, 14 feet high?
Oh, what is the optimal?
What gives you the best angles and the...
Well, okay. I've got a chart right here to be able to ask you. What I'm going to do is I'm going to answer a question with a question.
All right.
Are you guys ready for another challenge?
Mm-hmm.
I see Dudley's looking at me saying,
I'm ready.
What's happening now? What gives you a bigger kill zone? Broadside or quartering away? And before we answer that, I got another question. And here's the thing, it's a real basic question. Nobody can answer for me. What does quartering away mean? Hey, it's quartering away. What does that mean?
I don't even know if it's defined, but I would think it would be an angle
away.
Or a certain.
There you go. I like that. I like that.
What's
it mean? How do you define that? Because I got to take all this, and if I'm bringing this down to a 1/4-inch kill spot, I can't be quartering away.
The first question is the kill zone is bigger, and I'm very confident in saying this when they're quartering away.
Okay.
For me, it's a higher percentage shot to be going into the vitals with a quartering away shot. For me personally.
Okay.
I think he's right. And then you get the width of the liver instead of the narrowness.
Instead of the narrowness. And, your projectile, whatever it is going into the goodies instead of coming out of the goodies, I guess is the best way to put it for me.
The goodies.
I went
I like
multi-year spell of shooting a traditional bow, and I like to stay really low in the tree. And I liked them to be just completely sideways, just because I felt like I had a bigger target.
On the broadside?
The quartering away, completely. And the quartering away just seems to make the hit a little bit more difficult.
Well, quartering away helps me draw.
Yeah, quartering away helps me, period.
So you're saying it's a situational thing as well, to not get detected.
I think my percentage of a successful vital shot is higher quartering away than broadside.
Almost.
Is that a fair statement?
I like it. I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
I like it.
Yeah. I'm on, broadside or quartering away. Those are where you got to be. I think quartering away.
Very slight quartering away.
Very slight quarter,
allows me to get drawn without being seen.
Yeah, and they're walking, they're not looking at you.
Yeah.
Put the doe eyes on you.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys ready?
Right.
Yes.
We're going to get into a lot of detail here.
All right.
Number one, remember I told you how good a shot I am? Not a good shot, right? and I'm going bear hunting, and I got in this outfit. I'm going to tape these other guys. I got an outfitter up there that's going to let me buy a tag for $750, and I can get one for my wife and party shoot for $750. So for that $1,500, I can shoot 2 bears. So I'm excited. So for me personally, all this you're saying, 17 yards, not being a good shot, my problems I have is right or left. When I shoot, for whatever it is, when I'm torquing.
Not up and down.
No. Whatever it is, it's a side to side. I'll shoot a group here, then the next time they're over there, and whatever it is, side to side is my problem. So number one, everything Dudley said, everything you guys said is all true, but a lot of things can be true at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But what Dudley said on his recurve and shooting broadside and having a defined point to aim, and with me shooting right or left, is 100% what I'm wanting. I'm scared to death of getting that quartering away shot.
So based on your personal
no, this is
weaknesses.
my weakness. Yeah, that's me now. Remember, if you're a crack shot, we can't. This stuff's not black and white. A is right, B is wrong.
Right.
Everything is. It's not.
be.
It's not. So first off, let's try to set a foundation of what is a quartering shot. Because I got to look at this. Well, how do I teach people quartering shot? How's a perfect shot? So here's how I defined it. If we can go over here, that's what this model does. So all this is a giant protractor. Okay? That's
Love a
all it is.
protractor.
It's a giant protractor. So if I want to do quartering away, the definition of quartering away, I asked a builder. He says, sounds really scientific. The definition of quartering away means it's not broadside. So that means anywhere from there at 90 all the way back to 1 degree here would be considered quartering away.
Ooh,
but I've
yeah.
got these at degrees because I have to show you where the perfect shot is if you're all the way back here at 10 degrees, or when you think of quartering away, my wife says quartering away means 45.
Yeah,
That's what goes in her mind, which would end up being right there. So then the question is, where is the shot there? So in other words, to answer the question, quartering away, if you put it on a protractor, is made in degrees. So and that's what this is up over here on his back. When I'm using this one as a model, this is nothing but a protractor I custom made that fits on his back, but I have to have the center of this, I call it the fulcrum, right over, right on where I think you should shoot, because see where this is? Right behind the shoulder blade. I want to miss the shoulder blade. So I put that right there, and then any angle shot that I want is going to go back to the heart based upon what I have here. And I take these out and I drop plumb bob lines down to be able to show right here and then what rib that I hit, because I got to get real specific. So, okay. So that defines that. Now.
And the more the angle, the further back the shot needs to be on
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's going to be this target that I'm in the process of making is going to have all of this teaching incorporated in it.
That's going to be awesome.
In the target. So it's going to be a target for you to shoot, and it's going to be a target that's going to teach. And what I'm going to do on the back of it, because I'm sculpturing it right now, and I need to have it done here in June. I've been working on it for over a year. But when it's done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hollow it out with a chainsaw, and I'm going to make Reinhardt a set of all these organs, because I used that deer for the size model, but I put a bigger neck on it, and all those organs are going to go back in it. So it's going to come with an internal or an external teaching system that you're going to be able to put arrows in and see exactly where it hits. It's going to have degrees on it. It's going to be all in there for you to shoot it. And I even have a scoring system on how to score using it.
Nice.
And it's going to come with no kill zones. Because here's a statement I make. I sculpture all the Reinhardt archery targets. I put the kill zones on. But here is something that's not blasphemous truth. 3D archery teaches people to cripple animals.
Yeah, I agree.
Because there's a static kill zone here. And no matter where you're hunting, no matter up in a tree, on the ground, if you want to get your 12 points or 14 ring, whatever you're shooting for, that's where you got to hit. So you're shooting not to make the biggest kill area possible.
Right.
You're shooting to get points.
I'm working on that with my kids because they're like, "Oh, yeah. I'm like, look, that's great, but if we were shooting this deer to harvest it, you know, what do we need to do different?" You know,
so if I can get this to goal, what I want to do is have a series of targets. Because remember, I'm trying to change the paradigm in hunting. I'm wanting to kill more animals.
Yeah.
And one of it is I want to make a series of targets that aren't going to have kill zones in it, but it's going to have a scoring system. And I'll tell you what it is. It's really cool. It's if I know by using this string, did you see the string I have there? Mm-hmm. All you do is you take a string that pivots from where you're supposed to hit on the inside, and that just pivots behind the back. That's all that is. It's a straight line behind the backbone. So picture there being a line that's right here, okay? That's going right into where it is that you want to go. Then all I need to know is my downward angle. That's my horizontal angle. Yep. Then I need my vertical angle. X is the spot, right? So I can literally go, and I've done this, and you put a toothpick there so nobody can see it. That's your kill zone. So you know what you do then? I have a playing card made, or a clear card that's got the size of the scoring rings on it, where they shoot it, they hook it on their arrow, and they pivot it, and wherever that toothpick is, that's their kill zone. So, and it's going to take the people that are the champion archers, because you know these champion archers win, don't you, besides just being good shots? They have all the targets, and they practice them, and they know what the kill zones look like in all these rings from certain distances. So that helps them score it. Okay, I can see that over there. It's there, like that's 30 yards. Okay, I know the kill zones, the hair patterns that are, I mean, I sculpture these things. I know. They got to fit in a box. I mean, there's a lot of that goes into it. I'm taking that all out of there, because I'm wanting to say, no, we're not going to go there. So a lot of these champion archers are not going to be able to win because they're not going to have all these little intricate secret things.
Little mini cheat codes.
Well,
they just know where the chin ring is.
They got to aim for something in their defense.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, you're a bad shot like me. You see the insert in the animal, right? So you know there's the insert. I want to hit in the middle of the insert so that I'm not going to miss it. I mean, but that's not going to be in mine at all.
Your mission with all this, I want to just kind of try to pull all this together. You're on a mission to help hunters not wound and
Recover
lose
more
animals.
animals.
150,000 deer a year. And how I got that, Mark, let me tell you where that came from. Because it's abstract number, but you got to have a goal, right? You got to have something. I was told, I've read, you just go online and Google, it's all I know, that there's 1.5 million deer killed a year with a bow.
1.5 million deer killed with a bow.
With archery equipment. And I don't know that that's true, so I don't know.
Be interesting.
There's a 50% kill rate, wound rate, or there's a 50% recovery rate, non-recovery rate. I mean, you may shoot it, not find it, go with the neighbors, whatever it is.
So 1.5 million deer shot with a bow, 50% recovered?
No, 1.5 million recovered.
Okay, so
Which
another
would mean-
50% on top of that.
Well, another
might
100,
have been shot.
another 100%.
Another 100%. Oh, that's right. 'cause
So then
50
if I could take 10% of that 1.5 million, that's 150,000. That's
Yeah.
how I came up with it. So if I could just help
man.
the kill rate be 150,000 more. Because see, where this becomes personal to me, not just professionally, is I've raised a deer. I've raised them in my living room. And I know you go, is this guy crazy? Yeah. We brought him in little dog kens, these little fawns, put plastic on the floor there, got these fawns running around on our couch there. Then we end up putting them in pens we had there, because as a sculptor, I want to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
So I have to have the knowledge anatomically. And I'm just talking from a taxidermy standpoint of doing all this, right? So I would go out there in the pen at night, have them come up on me. I mean, you think about what it's like after work, you just go sit down there with your dog and stuff you got. I'm going out in my deer pen, coming up there and having them come feed me and rubbing them, because I'm constantly on animals. I'm constantly feeling all the bones, where everything's at, how they move, how all that works. So I see these animals, and I have 4 wild deer I feed every day, 4 to 6, that are there that I see every day since they're fawns. I've known them for the 9 years I've been out there. And if I want to kill them as a hunter, I want them dead. I don't want to cripple them.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
a bad feeling.
No, it's awful.
Yeah.
it's a
As
bad
much as you
feeling.
love them.
I mean, we owe it to
right.
ourselves.
Everything.
But we also owe it to the non-hunting public that
that's
is
right.
analyzing what we do.
Good point, Dudley.
So,
For
but
everyone,
yeah,
for the
more meat in the
deers.
freezer and less guilt.
And
Yeah,
see,
and-
boy, you're hitting it on me.
And the quick kills are better for the meat too. I mean, it is.
Yeah, there's so much upside. I'm real impressed that you've taken up this mantra, and it's obviously a lot of work. Looks like you've dedicated your life to this, and a lot of effort. You need to get props for this.
No, we need to spread the word
Yeah.
for sure.
Well, why do you think I came down to be with Mossy Oak? I got to meet Bobby Cole.
No, that's
meet
it.
you guys.
So you have bit the big time.
So the Anatomy Hunter, guys, you can go follow and you can see some of these. You know, if you're listening to this, you just can't see it. We're
Now
trying
the
to
work,
explain it.
look, the work that you have done is amazing, and it's really the research and the
Attention
science
to
behind
detail.
it. Yeah, the attention to detail is amazing. So, and none of these things were ever built before. This is all innovation. I mean, it makes a lot of sense.
I don't know that anybody's ever thought about it
No.
before to this degree.
No, I mean, it's a good job. PVC and wing
Well,
nuts
just so you
and
know,
some
my
arrows.
family
I
thinks
mean-
we're crazy. They're against me doing all this because it takes so much time and so much
Yeah.
doing it, but it's
Hey, you're on a mission.
I can
and
see
we love
that's
that.
right.
Yeah, I can look. I'm thinking about like Hayden.
Oh,
You know, when we're out there shooting and they're asking questions.
We're just, we started with broadside. Now we're talking about angles. He's pretty good with his rifle, so he's starting to understand that. And then Logan with his bow, same way. We're having the same conversation that you were just talking about. So, and they too, as young hunters, Hayden loves to see, him shoot and a deer fall. He runs away. He's like, oh, what's going on. So,
Yeah. And this can be applied to rifle shots too.
100%.
And, we always talk about what we learn. It just immediately hit me what I learned. I learned a lot, but I've never heard anybody hit on why you would use a mechanical over a fixed blade. And after learning from you, there's a good reason. The people that are going to go for that heart shot, the people that are going to go for a heart shot, that fixed blade is probably the way to go. If you're going for that bigger kill zone, you could probably use either. You could use a big bladed fixed or a mechanical. And so there's always been that argument, and now I feel like I've learned a reason to break that down. So
we
pretty
never
cool.
answered your question on the broadside one. Target.
And even the land before you leave, just how thick that tenderloin, those vertebrae up there are.
Yeah, the spines up top are considerably And as many as we've cleaned, you'd think we'd know that, but I mean, this is a great example of it. I'm thinking no man's land now is above the spine.
Sure. It very well may be.
Either that or the deer lives through a top lung hit.
Yeah. I hate it gotta go.
Yeah, yeah, all right. Thank you, Lance.
And a lot of the shoulder blades actually go through the shoulder blade and hit the backbone. So I think the shoulder blade stopped it, but it's the backbone too.
Should we do rapid fire?
Why don't we? We've got a couple of things we need to do. This thing is.
Yeah, you want to do rapid fire? Or you want to do?
Let's do that, and then we'll ask him a trivia.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, okay. Look, take a deep breath. You've done a great job at explaining all this stuff. Dudley's going to ask you some questions. You'll just answer them real fast. It's we should have done this at the beginning, and we got sidetracked. But it's brought to you by our friends at Nutrient Ag Solutions.
Mm-hmm.
We call it Rapid Fire. We'll learn a little bit about you.
All right. So, Mr. Brian, I'm going to ask you a few questions in rapid fire. So, try to give me a quick answer. We're just wanting to get to know you better. Are you ready? What is the largest fish for the species that you've ever caught?
Northern pike, 41 inches.
Woo! How long have you been hunting?
Since I was 12 years. Well, I've been hunting chipmunks my whole life. It's the truth. That's where I started with the bow.
Cheese curds or beer cheese soup?
Cheese curds. I'm from Wisconsin.
Ice fishing or regular fishing?
Ooh, I'm an ice fisherman.
All right, random, because we used to have a coworker last name Kohler. Do you call it a water fountain or a bubbler?
Water fountain.
Have you ever eaten grits or boiled peanuts?
I tried boiled peanuts once, sadly.
All right, we can change that. Favorite animal to hunt?
Elk.
Favorite animal to eat?
Duck.
What is your favorite tree species?
Butternut.
Butternut, cool.
Chainsaw carver,
Too
beautiful
bad the
wood.
canker's getting them. All right, what is the coldest temperature you've ever experienced outside?
Well, we have 30 below every 3 years or so in Wisconsin. It's pretty common. 20 below every winter.
Wow.
Common.
And then last but not least, name a species you'd love to hunt but haven't.
Turkey.
Wow.
I work all the time, and in the spring, I go to Canada there, and I take all my time off for elk hunting in the fall.
Well, sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, but we're wanting to change.
Yeah, like all of our accountant friends have that same problem.
My problem is I want to shoot one with a bow, and I'm a bad shot, and I don't want to cripple them, and I don't want to shoot them with a shotgun, so you see my catch, right?
So you overanalyzed everything. I get it.
Yeah.
It sounds like your personality. Well, good stuff.
Yeah, those are good questions, Dudley. So, Brian, now we've got a trivia question that's brought to you by our friends at Peanut Patch. You can buy boiled peanuts in any of the convenience stores here in the South. So when you guys are driving back home, you stop and get gas, go in there, and there'll be a Peanut Patch kettle.
Okay.
And get you some boiled peanuts.
Well, I'm going to have to try it because my son who lives in Atlanta, he loves them.
Oh, they're awesome. All right.
So our listener today who left a comment, Shane Wheels 629, left a comment on YouTube. And so he wins
win a prize. Yeah. Shane just need to get in touch with us, and we'll get the prize shipped right out to you. It will be several things, including a Nutrient Ag measuring cup.
How about them apples?
Those measuring cups are really handy to keep at the cabin or keep in the back of your truck for whenever you're mixing herbicides.
All right, Brian, so pay attention with us now. We got a question for you.
All right, let's see if we get through this here. All right, so true or false? In the late 1960s, a woodsman from British Columbia shot a deer and used its teeth to make dentures for himself. Then he ate the deer with the deer's own teeth.
False.
Oh, Brian, you might want to think about this just for 1 second now.
I guess I was just thinking British Columbian deer, and so obviously you give me the hint that it's true, but that was my first input.
No, it's very true. This guy killed a deer.
In the 1960s, British Columbia woodsman Francis Wharton shot a deer and used its teeth to make his own dentures, and then he ate the deer with the teeth.
Very true.
Interesting, huh?
All right, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that is a wow. All right, guys, I'm looking around. We have learned so much.
Very, very informative.
Yeah, it has been. And it's been a pleasure to meet you and your wife. And it's exciting to see the passion that you have for this and that you're an educator. And we need to follow you and help you, because I think you're on the mission you're on. You're going to help some hunters recover more animals.
Well,
there's no doubt in my mind.
It's like Dudley says, we need it for the antis, we need it for the deer's sake, and we need it for our conscience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What gives you the bigger kill zone, broadside or quartering away?
Ooh, we didn't finish with that. What gives you the biggest kill zone?
Let me show you this bad thing here. Take a look at these arrows here. The top one is on the very front of the lungs. We're discounting the shoulder blade. We'll just throw that out just for math looking, the big picture. The bottom one comes to the very, what I call the wing of the lungs, because the shape of the lungs, they're held together by the mediastinum, and then they flare out, and I call them the wings that go on the outside, where they become very, very thin. You see how thin they are on the end? How thick they are there? That's because that's where they meet the diaphragm. They go on the outside of it. It's like on the inside of them, picture a bowling ball on the inside of a deer, and the lungs wrap around it. Okay, with the top. Now, if you take a look at that measurement that I measured there with my yardstick, here, I go from there to there, and I got 14 and a half inches, okay? That's perfectly 90 degrees, right? So if we go quartering away, this is a top view. Here, this is the deer. These are the shoulder blades. That's the lungs. That's the heart. That's the liver. These are the ribs. So now if we go quartering away, which would be, we'll go with 45 degrees, right? And the neat thing is this, I can use my protractor angle meter here to bring that down to there's 45, okay? So I'll just parallel that. And remember we started at 14 and a half, right? Okay, so those parallel, that's nice and close. So so that hits both lungs there. That one was in the middle of it, that'd be the perfect shot. But take a look at this one here.
That only hits one lung.
We only hit one lung, so now what do I gotta do? I bring this up, stick with that same angle, where I just touch the inside of the left lung, okay? And then I'd hit the liver, but if I want to hit both lungs, I've got to hit the inside corner of that right one right there. Okay, so I tighten that. I have to move that up to know now my perfect kill shot is going more forward, which I'll tighten that there real quick if I can. Okay, now we had 14 and a half inches. Now we're down to 8 inches. You can't get, if you take a look at this here, you can't get any longer than 36 inches. The more I tilt this towards you, it gets shorter. So if you want to make a double lung shot, you cannot make a wider, bigger target on both lungs and perfectly broadside. But everything that you guys said is true as well. When they have their head turned, you can draw the bow back. My reasoning for an angle like this is, if I end up shooting here, instead of having a 14-inch kill zone, which gives me 7 inches on both sides of my bullseye, now I'm at 8, now I only have 4, and he's angled away, and I hit down over here, now I end up just hitting one lung. That's why, to me, it's a big deal, because with my right and left problem, I want him broadside.
That makes sense. And that what you built there demonstrates that perfectly. Sure does.
But, to argue that, even though I completely agree with you, some hunters like that slightly quartering away.
The truth is, you do hit the stomach and you're going to kill the deer. And that's the one thing, is you shoot up in the front, you cripple them in the bones. If you hit them back in the guts, the animal's dead. And there are people that will use big broadheads, they aim back farther, they shoot the deer, they walk out of the woods, they come back the next day, you don't bump them, they go 100, 200 yards and they're dead. It's not the way we want to do it, but it does work.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Wow. Well, I'm a little overwhelmed with all this information that you provided us, but it certainly what you're doing. I think you're on you're headed in a good direction. And
I appreciate it, because I came here to get your help, Bobby.
Well, hunting needs what you've got to offer. The explanations. This could be scaled. What he's doing, and hunter education classes could really benefit from this.
Yeah. So
what's next for you guys? What's the next project? Are you traveling to these different hunting shows?
Going to Canada. I have 8 people lined up in Ontario that want me to film them, which I'm really bad at filming, so I'm scared of doing it, but I can't wait to just be in with somebody. I can't wait to do a bear hunt. And then I got 2 tags there. Then I get back, and in the fall, I've got a gentleman I met at the a.k.a. that's got 14 Boone and Crockett's with his bow, and I don't care about big bucks. I mean, like I said, I'm not a good shot into that, but just to get a deer. Anyway, he's wanting me to come down to Ohio, where he's from. He owns a lot of property, to set me up, and he's going to have 8 people he believes will be able to shoot deer that I'll be able to be there to be able to examine. And then I've got in Michigan during the fall, I've got an invite with a guy that's a host of a podcast I did with, I think it's called Blood Trackers of America. So I'll be able to hunt on his property at night to bow hunt, and then be able to track with him during the day to be able to document, because I want to get a show going to be able to show for these dog trackers how to analyze the deer after they get it, to give me that evidence, even though they won't have the kill shots. And the thing that I'm doing different on the films that come to me, I'm trying to feature the hunter to give them a minute's worth of time to make it personal of who are you, why do you hunt, what this is. So it's a motivational thing to try to motivate kids to get back into hunting, because as you know, with all this digital stuff and all this garbage that's going on, people need to know what nature is, and they get bored. And to me, they don't understand. For me, going out in nature and being bored is a wonderful thing. That's not a bad thing, to be in the woods and just to hear the noise of all the nature and stuff, and know that I got to work hard to see something, to get something.
We call that piddling down here.
Yeah.
Do you?
Piddling.
So you've got the Anatomy Hunter, that's an Instagram page. Do you have a website or anything? Or?
Yes, we have that too. And we have Facebook.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll tell you what, it'd be worth following. Richie, have we touched on everything?
Yeah, we've hit a lot of topics. I mean, we've gone some detail, super deep on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's been good. Brian, thank you so much for traveling. Miss Doris, thank you for being here. It looks like you've been filming basically the whole time with your iPhone. I didn't know one could last that long.
Well, they got it figured out. They're smarter than we are.
Well,
Yeah, they do.
No, our editor says we're the dumbest people he's ever worked with.
No.
He does.
No.
When it comes to technology, we are.
Well, thank y'all for coming. We really
Well,
appreciate it.
thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Why don't you say goodbye, Dudley?
Goodbye, Dudley. Get us out of here, Richie.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gamekeeper Podcast, and be sure to tune in again. Subscribe to Gamekeeper Farming for Wildlife magazine, and don't miss the Mossy Oak Properties Fistful of Dirt podcast with my good buddy, Ronnie Cuz Strickland.